really change anything. I guess neither does Sam.
Never.
But like, I have this set up to stream from Twitch's program, and then I have like Streamlabs for Rogue Agents, and then my own personal stream whenever I decided to like paint is on like OBS. I have like 3 different like streaming / recording programs just so that I don't have to like change accounts and do all that a bunch of times. It makes it so much easier.
Settings.
But we are live on Twitch.
What's up, Twitch?
There's apparently already
Where's
6
coffee?
people here. Holy crap. We already have people in here. Okay.
Well, now that people are playing the game, they're probably excited to go talk about it.
Here.
And
Here.
I'm the grounding for the cast because you guys are all just like, oh, we're playing Luminara and Grievous already on TTS. I'm like, models in person with people.
I have given up on Grievous because we're not going to see him till October basically. So I'm not really playing Grievous.
I was talking to my partner and I was like, can you imagine if you've never played like a miniatures game or something and like being pitched on this whole thing? Or like, all right, here's what you're going to do. You're going to spend a few $100s on a board game. And okay, most people are out at that point. Like, all right, now you've got to assemble all of the stuff and paint it. And they're like, oh, all right, this is a lot of work. Now you have to go out to a random store and play games with people you don't know, and you may have to convince them to play against you. Can you imagine how hard this is for like a new introvert or something to get into? This would be insane.
Fortunately, introverts usually aren't new. Like they're usually like they've been around for a little while.
I mean, to be fair, this is like my wife. It's very much this scenario actually because it's like, hey, you want to play this game? And she's like, okay, I'll give it a shot with you. And then she plays it. She's like, well, that was fun. I'm like, you want to go to the game store and play? And she's like,
pass, hard pass.
I've got to turn my compressor off.
Yeah, that's some background info for the Twitchies. Won't be in the full episode, but yeah, it's just like it is kind of a crazy thing. Like this is like the main thing that I enjoy about it is the same sort of thing that would push other people away. Where like I want to go out to the store, meet new people, build rapport, play games, push these toys across the table, and it's something special. But I think until you do it, it's kind of hard to grasp why it's special.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I could agree with that.
if you would like, Dizzard, we can move on and start the real show.
There's a reason we all say that it's the people you meet along the way, though. So
it is the people you meet along the way. Like here
Like
we
Devin.
are. Like Devin. Like, oh, that's an experience. Devin's the best, though. Devin is the best.
I'm here for it.
All right, let's go ahead and get this going. Let me make sure the button's all pressed properly. Waiting for that to say good to go. Hello, Swedish troll. I'm coming for
Swedish
you
troll.
at that mall spot.
Coming for you.
Swedish troll's #1 mall right now, so
My internet points.
I don't care. Kenny G, can you talk about your Lord and Savior Anakin Skywalker?
That is what Sam is here for.
Well, we've got some Obi-Wan on the docket tonight for me.
All right, we're gonna hit the
Wait
start
till we
button.
get to my games.
Oh boy! All right, we're hitting the button.
Yep.
Oh no, it's happening.
It's the final countdown.
Welcome, my young apprentice.
Stretch out with your feelings.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Welcome to Rogue Support, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. We are your hosts, Dizzard, Omnis, and Fingerguns. Our goal as a cast to give you that support you need for your gaming needs, whether that be tactics, supplies, hobby ideas, or just friendly banter. We're in your corner of the cantina. If you enjoy what you are listening to, be sure to leave a review and let us know how we are doing. as well, come hop in our Discord. Literally hop into our Discord. Don't break your computer, but try. There are you can show off your hobby talk rules and tactics and anything Star Wars Shatterpoint related. The link will be in the description. Now open those blast doors and let's get on with the show. I had to, okay? I need to change that in there. I'm glad. Coffee says I mentioned balls, so everybody has to take a drink, I guess. We're here for it.
Maybe we should take half a drink.
Wow. Fair. I'm here for that as well.
Tangent on that again tonight.
All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's start with Sam. What have you been playing, painting, drinking, whatever it may be?
Well, not to flex my privilege, but I definitely got a Padawan Ahsoka, so she's been a part of my last 3 games of Shatterpoint, and that's been very fun. So I've been playing.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pause you.
And,
pause. I want to actually comment on this. One, can you talk to people about how it feels to have a Padawan Ahsoka in your hands and on your table? And can you tell people, like, is she really changing things to where it's a detriment to not get one?
Also, can you literally flex for the camera?
Yeah, that too. I don't know if I worded that correctly.
Flex is what I did before.
I don't know if I worded that right, because like I'm trying to like make it like it's not that bad.
I'm supposed to downplay how amazing it is.
Yeah, we're gaslighting people again.
And explain how having a second, even better Rex is not as good as it sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
That's what Dizzard was trying to say. Exactly. Great summary. You speak Dizzard like a boss.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like playing Padawan Ahsoka wins you the games, right? Like you still have to know what you're doing.
Just close to it.
So I mean, I don't think that she's going to have as much of an impact when she's actually released in like 3 or 4 months than she's having right now, because it's just another piece that the Republic has to play with that theoretically no one else does, because she is very much keyword tied. Like you flip her up and it's like, oh, Galactic Republic.
So you're saying it's good to have an option for a third secondary as opposed to being locked into 2 Republic secondaries? You're saying that having another option is good?
I mean, having an option does feel pretty good. If I didn't have her, I'd probably run Jango. And that's
I'm
probably
blown away.
like fine.
You guys got to give me a second to like.
I just want to. I just wanted to say, like, is it because you see all the stuff on the internet, and is it really a feels bad? I think it's more of feels bad from a marketing perspective.
Here's the worst thing about Padawan Ahsoka.
Yeah,
you can't run Core Ahsoka in your squad, and if you're playing in a premiere event, I don't even think you can bring her.
That's fair. I think we'll touch more in deep on that during the main topic and consequences and stuff. But go ahead and what else you got going on?
And I do think that like Mike said in the chat, Anakin may not be the greatest primary in the core box. So bringing him and Padawan Ahsoka for me is more of a it's a theme flex for me.
That's fair.
That was a pseudo flex. I appreciate that you.
He like curled up in here.
He was just like. Like, I'm more of a gunslinger than a boxer, but I'll flex for you.
Swedish Troll says Anakin is small but slower and more expensive, and he also has less control. But moving on, Sam, what else do you have going on this last 2 weeks?
Oh, these last 2 weeks, I've been a very busy person in real life the past 2 weeks. So besides finding time to slam together just enough of my core set to play some Shatterpoint games, I've been to a concert and done a few other things that were super fun.
I gotta ask, could you go see?
I went and saw the Idols and LCD Sound System at the Reset Festival.
That sounds like fun.
I had a blast. Good times.
Awesome.
Highly recommend it.
All right, Omnis, what you got?
Well, let's start with, first off, I want to apologize to all of the watchers and listeners. I feel like I've been dropping the ball on my Star Wars shirt game. I had a repeat shirt in the first 3 episodes, and I just feel like I let you all down. So I've upped my game, went all out on the bounty hunters, representing. Unfortunately, my partner could only name 2 of them.
Oh no!
But when you played Star Wars miniatures games, you know all of them. But
I gotta know which two was your partner able to name, because that.
Boba and IG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh no, Bosk has fallen.
I was a little surprised that I was like,
Yeah,
not even,
I thought it was gonna be Bosk and Boba. I guess IG because of the Mandalorian show.
Yeah, it's IG's comes up a lot in Mando. But so moving on from that, I am drinking Rogue Gumbaroo West Coast IPA. Let's see, this is a little hard to read. Ever hear the story of the Gumbaroo? As the story goes, 3 loggers were camped in the woods, drinking beers, as you would, and entertaining the idea of illegally harvesting old-growth sequoias for extra cash, when the ground suddenly shook with a heavy footstep, bigger than a bear, with wild eyes and jagged teeth. The Gumbaroo rose from behind a stump with a mighty roar as the loggers scrambled to escape. Beer spilled over the fire, causing smoke to fill the air. Some say the forest only wanted to send them a warning that might, that night, as the stroke of smoky fortune helped hold off the Gumbaroo while the loggers got away. So remember to respect your forests, put out your fires, and always bring cold beer camping. And it's got this crazy monster.
That's the Gumbaroo. The Gumbaroo.
Yeah, so that's what I'm drinking right now. It's quite delicious. West Coast IPA. Man, so yesterday, so literally Friday afternoon, I go look at the Mox Discord, and I'm like, is there any Shatterpoint stuff happening? And it was Saturday, there is an intro event. And I was like, well, I have 3 models painted. So what do? I would like to play a painted squad. And I did not want to rush my Mandos. So I had Asajj and Jango painted. And so I was like, what if I paint all the droids and I just play Separatists? When else am I going to play them? And it just gives me a channel. I was like, and it gets the droids and stuff out of the way. And so I assembled them, painted them. I got them to a reasonable spot. There was... The Magna Guard's cloaks were just kind of cream, no wash, no highlighting of any kind. But for the most part, I was happy with it. Things, I was one of the only people playing a painted squad, and it just gave me some time with them. And I did switch one thing between game 2, and I moved the Magna Guard to Asajj and put the B1s on Dooku. And I actually thought that was really interesting. I will say, playing the Separatists, you feel the order of activation really significantly. Game 1, Dooku was my last activation, and so he was totally out of position. He couldn't give the bonus movement to anyone else because they were all way up the table. But then in game 2, I got to activate Kalani really early and move all the supporting units, all 4 characters forward. And then as I was winning Struggle 1, I knew that I was winning that round. And so I elected to move the Magna Guard back into range of Kalani, and then got to activate Kalani early in Act 2 and then rearrange all 4 droids again. And I will say that was one of the most impactful things. Overall, when Kalani gets to move all 4 of those characters, it just feels like your team is just so much better positioned than your opponent, especially when you're on the gantries and stuff, and there's kind of limited placement for where your troops can go and who can land close enough. And yeah. So anyway, they were interesting, but at the same time, I didn't feel, yes, I got my shiny Shatterpoint card. But the weird thing was most of the time, I didn't feel like Asajj and Dooku did very much. Mostly Dooku was just kind of getting his shit pushed in. But in the end of game 2, I was winning. I was at the point of winning Struggle 2 after winning Struggle 1. And I looked down and I was like, the way things are going, if I can take that objective from you, I just win this turn. And I had Dooku flip. And like Dooku cannot get there. He got like triple pushed out of position, and so he just had no good way of getting there. I'm like, let's reserve him for a force. And then I flipped to Saj. I'm like, okay, so I just win.
And it's
it was like, okay, and advance, hop, force push, racks off the point, and game over. And so like Asajj had like that cool moment, but outside of that, it just felt like my team was better positioned.
Yeah.
I think overall, like knowing when to reserve with the Separatists is a big deal. I did not have compared to playing the Mandos, I just always had Force. I always could do whatever Force abilities that I wanted. Most of the time, I was like, "Oh, I've triggered 2 Force refreshing, and I haven't even used Force yet."
I feel so bad for you with all your free movement and extra bonus Force.
I know. But yeah, I would just say if you like the droids. I would say it is a really big deal to like control when Dooku and Kalani get to activate, be a little bit more aggressive with reserving, and think about when you can move things back towards Kalani, and then also don't put Kalani too far forward because Kalani also just gets wrecked.
True.
But anyway, that's my summary of all my games and shenanigans.
I feel like you brought up a good point though, like with Dooku, is whenever I was playing Dooku, I very much felt that he's a big impact on the board, except for when it's his activation. Like his activation is like the least impact that he has on the board state. It's the rest of it when it's ever somebody's attacking him or he's moving people. It's really like his actions don't really impact a whole lot, I found.
I had this really cool chance, like with a Dooku activation in the first game, to steal. Like, I don't think it would have really changed Struggle 2. I was losing Struggle 2 in game 1, but that just happens. You win Struggle 1, Struggle 2 is rough, and this was one where like they got to pick locations that were really good for them.
Yeah.
But I had this one cool moment where he advanced, and then was in range to light, or so he gets his free dash, right? And so at that point he gets to force lightning someone. And if I would get to, it was whatever, the 4th success or something. If I get to the 4th success and he gets his like advance, I could double advance onto that other point and I would take it. Because they were just controlling it. I don't think they had a person on there. But my opponent like whiffed on defense, but then I whiffed on offense too, and like just ended up with a couple successes. So I had this cool chance for him.
Yeah.
I will say Dooku probably wants to more aggressively switch stances more than any other primary so far, in my opinion. I think both of his stances are very viable, and you really want to be thinking about how you want to switch that each activation. But otherwise, Dooku definitely did not feel like he was critical to the team. But I mean, his first ability, right? Like him always getting to dash and like potentially giving a dash to one other separatist.
I think
where
Dooku shines is that ability, and then his signature ability, where it's like, hey, I just gained 2 force because you're playing the game and killing my people. Like, like,
yeah, you guys are crazy. Dooku's amazing.
I think Dooku's amazing, but like the more I played him, and the more it was more of like his just passive stuff is more impactful than his active stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, his 2 like spend force abilities are really awkward and situational, and literally never came up in both games. And but like.
Yeah,
I mean, Separatists felt like they worked. I still am not pro Separatist, but I thought I got them painted. The droids were the quickest thing to paint, and give me a chance to experience them. Got to try Dooku. Jango was a boss.
Jango's too good.
I wasn't even remembering his not so fast half the time, but like that just. He not so fast Anakin, and then like Anakin came over, tried to fuck with him, didn't do that much, and then. Like, he just tags Anakin in the face. And it's just like, and mind you, it was one where Anakin rolled all failures on defense and Jango rolled all successes on offense. It was literally trigger everything. And I was like, get out of here, Anakin.
I think something interesting, you hear a lot of talk, and I think we've even said similar, that synergies based off of your secondaries is really important. But Django's like the exception. Like Django's just good, and he doesn't really have that many synergies with anything out right now.
Yeah,
Yet.
The weird thing is like Django is a lot better in Act 2 and 3, right? Like you don't feel his strength in Act 1 because you kind of like need him to be in position. So I feel like he does even more in a longer game, but like his key activations in Act 2 or 3 can be kind of nuts. So I definitely I'm on the Django train for sure.
Nothing feels better than your opponent losing an activation because you were not so fasted. That's like one of the worst feel bads in the game currently, in my opinion. It's like the one gotcha we have, but it's such a gotcha. But it's not really a gotcha because you know it's there. It's like Django's right here within 3 of you, and I have force. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, especially it's really easy to soften up support units and stuff, and soften up secondaries, and then you gotta be real careful with them around Django. Django's solid. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. For me, I completely forgot to go get any drinks, so I went and opened up the liquor cabinet and found a bunch of old stuff I've had sitting around for a while that I need to drink. So I'm drinking cocktails.
Please don't get sick on the podcast. That would really.
I'm not drinking that heavy. Like this only has like.
No, I mean like how old of stuff are we talking
no.
about?
Like maybe like 6 months. Like.
Just we're concerned for your safety.
Nothing.
right?
Nothing there is like gonna go bad. Like the closest thing I was like, what's this go bad? Is like the bitters, but then it's like, oh, it's just bitters. That shit lasts forever.
The daiquiri mix is the only thing I would worry about from the picture you posted.
That was sealed though, so like it wasn't even opened yet. So it's fine. It's fine. There's no expiration date on it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Anyways, so right now I'm drinking it's like a green apple schnapps with Mountain Dew, and then soon I'm gonna try this one. It's so good though. I don't care. Like I don't care. Playing. I'm back on Ahsoka Mall Almandos, and I think we'll talk more about this when we get to. I think we'll talk more about this when we get to the premiere stuff, because that's really kind of what's altering my decisions. Because I kind of just want to like try that format out, even though we don't have a whole lot of stuff. I like to test out these things and see how it works, because we're gonna do it when we talk about premiere stuff.
Yeah, I was like, I about wanted to comment. I'm like, I'll just wait. We're doing that in the main topic. I have so much to say.
Painting and putting together. I literally put together all the core box to include the terrain, as well as assembled all my MCP stuff, as well as primed literally everything that I've had in my backlog for the past I don't know how long. So I'm all caught up on assembly and priming, and it literally took pretty much most of yesterday and pretty much most of today. It was exciting, and I painted this. Ooh.
That's a nice.
Actually,
it's got to it.
It's simple, but it looks really good.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
probably what I'm doing for mine as well.
Yeah,
I need
it's
to get
simple,
to
but
that.
it works. But yeah, I'm super excited to get to actually painting stuff, and excited that everything's assembled. So that's nice. Let's see. What am I wearing? I got a new Star Wars shirt too. This one's really sick.
Ooh.
nice.
Reppin'.
With 2 Imperials today. I'm glad you guys hire me.
Wow.
So, hobby question for you guys: favorite MCP or favorite Shatterpoint base so far of the 4? Sam, what's your favorite base?
I'm gonna do my Annie and my Obi on the ones where they're on a metal thing, but then there's something just off to the side of it that's like dirt or something else.
Okay.
And I'm gonna lava that up, so they're gonna be having their
Wow.
their final
That's actually a pretty good idea. I don't hate that at all.
Dizzard, what about you? What's your favorite Shatterpoint base?
I'm super basic, and for the one that makes me think of like Imperial Starship, like this is straight metal with the red vents.
the slats.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was leaning towards the just metal no vents.
yeah.
Right, like I like that one, like lots of like lightsaber tears, but I'm starting to lean towards the vents. So I think I'm with you on the like Starship, but with vents, because I think I'm gonna do like some orange glow or something in those to like metal, but something else there too.
Well, the next question is did you, I guess, segregate like what went on what bases? Like all of my red cards are on the metal bases, and all of my blue cards are on the ones that have sand in them.
No, I've purchased 2 core sets, so
Fair
I
enough.
have almost all of my stuff on the metal bases with no earth.
I put the 501st on the Imperial bases, the ones that reminded me of the Imperial bases. Because
Yeah.
well, they're 501st. They're Vader's dudes.
I tried to mix it up across them.
I have a question here. I know we try to keep MCP completely out of this, but with the varying bases that we got, do you see MCP changing to allow more bases? I guess we have 4 in MCP, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same amount of bases.
for some reason I was thinking it was different. Never mind, forget what I said. Scratch that. I'm not gonna scratch that because I'm lazy and don't edit that much.
I will say, if there's somebody in our group who wants to trade me the all metal bases for bases plus earth, I would be willing to do some swaps. So if you're in the US and shipping isn't crazy, I'm gonna want to go all in on the all metal, but it's like I haven't quite been able to do that. I'm like 2 bases short, and it's gonna always be 2 bases short.
So this is why the core box I have like Anakin and all like Anakin and the clones. They're on the ones with the dirt because they're just dirt and they're not going to be played. I said it. Anyways, let's move on. Chamber of Judgment. We're going to be talking about force recovery abilities because we have Dooku, Jango, Asajj, and Grievous was spoiled. So what do you guys, I guess we could like sum it up. Basically, abilities that characters have that allow you to gain force back. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think it is completely it's completely depending on which character and how the ruling is worded. Like Dooku's probably has like the best one I'd say because he just gets it for playing the game. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes, I agree. Like we're not thinking about what the rest of the team composition is. I think Dooku's is probably the best. The weird thing is Separatists don't do a great job of spending for like, especially if you have to activate Asajj early, right? Like you could be in a spot where you just don't spend that much force. So you almost kind of like she almost has to be spending it to like make Dooku's ability that worthwhile. Like you kind of need Jango and her to like burn through force because your other characters just don't. Compared to like Mandos who are just like fuck this force, let's get rid of it.
When I was running Dooku with Mandos, his ability was amazing because I always had force and I was playing Mandos and I was like, this is great. Like, come at me. I think after Dooku, I would say the next best force recovery ability in the game at the moment is probably Jango because I think it comes down to like when Jango wants to activate and the targets Jango is typically going after. And his isn't limited like Asajj's is. His is just primary or secondary. Hers is, I believe, you only get the force back on primaries. So it's a little bit easier to get, and I feel like Jango doesn't really want to be going like head hunting. He just like, I'm gonna finish this person off. Like pew, now they're dead. Whenever I play Jango, that's typically what he does. He's not really a headhunter. He's more of a let me just kidney punch this dude from the back who's been getting abused.
Opportunist.
Yeah. Where I'm landing on them right now is I feel like if you're playing a team that ends up so like say your whole strike team and you just feel like you're constantly out of force, then I would start looking at like how could you work in a force replenish character to like help with that. But by default, I'm not sure like it in itself is just like automatically good because not all teams spend force in the same way.
Like you mentioned, droids versus Mandos, like, and then I would say clones is very much in the middle. Mike actually brings up a good topic or point. Maul himself is almost a force replenish model. In a way, yes, because he has an option to not spend force, so it frees up some of that economy for you. I would completely agree with that. I think next I would rate probably Asajj over Grievous. I think they're both probably the bottom of the barrel when it comes to your force replenish abilities. But I think Grievous has the hardest time because in order for him to actually get the ability, you're losing out on a part of his card where it's like, if he's getting force back, well, now you're just losing out on the efficiency that comes with his attacks. What would you
I
guys
don't
say?
know. I have not looked into Grievous that
Basi-
closely, so I think I will defer to
Fair.
your guys' judgment on this one.
I'm in the same camp on Grievous.
Okay, so
I'm not that far ahead.
basically, if Grievous makes a melee attack, he can have a separatist robot, basically a battle droid, attack as well. So he can attack, and then he can have one of them attack, but it has to be the same target. So he's not able to attack something, get the force benefit, and have his battle droid attack. So you're losing out on some of the efficiency you have baked into him, as well as
It's like
kinda,
an August release at this point. Like
You're not
Grievous
wrong.
is so far into the future, and it's like he's
Yeah.
practically
And then-
practically unannounced to me.
Coffee brings up the other thing with him though is his is also against force users. So like it has to be somebody whose keyword is force user, not necessarily Jedi or Sith. It has to say force user. I don't know if there's anybody that's like not has that yet though. But and then Asajj is very much like a headhunter, and it's very reliant on who she's attacking if she's gonna pop it off or not. I think the biggest things to think about that we've kind of touched on is one, do I really need this ability? Or two, how do I get force back? That's when you kind of want to be looking at these type of people. I feel like more people are gonna like just gravitate towards Django, just because he's easy to throw into a list. It's not gonna alter your list dramatically. And I would say the other thing to think about is like, don't go hunting force with these abilities. I think that's a big trap that I could see a lot of people falling down into is, well, I'm gonna completely alter my gameplay just so I can get 2 force back. And I think that's a mistake, because if you're completely altering your gameplay to get something that isn't even 100% guaranteed, is that tool really benefiting you?
Yeah.
Well, this game has so many like situations where it's like wearing the softest possible shoes.
Yeah.
Right? Like the impacts are just so blunted. That like going out of your way to be like, I'm gonna wound this model so I can get some force back. Like you're really just kind of you're going further out on a limb to do that than I think is easily recognizable. Because what happens when you go that far out on the limb? Probably nothing actually in the end.
Fair enough.
2 force back.
Yeah. It is kind of weird. Like the more I play Shatterpoint, the more I'm like, no individual character has like that much impact on a game on average. Right? Like you always have just care like randomly, like Asajj will just do nothing in a game. But she's a character who like in the next game can just like auto win it for you at the right point. And it's just like it is weird how like for example in my game 1, my opponent's like first or second activation was their Clan Kreese commandos or Clan Kreese Mandos, and then I wounded them very quickly, like 1 or 2 activations in, and then we went to struggle 3, but they never activated again.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get because he activated like first, and then we were kind of like 2/3 of the way through the second shuffle. And so he just played the whole game with 2 characters not scoring.
That's rough.
Those second and third struggles can go so fast. Like there's, they can just be like done.
Yeah,
All
with when the double is just hitting the point for both players, where you're just like, he just doubled multiple times on his back point for the struggle 2, and so struggle 2 just went really fast, and then I just was like scoring the hell out of the double score on Act 3, and it was just like it was over, and it was like those guys have literally been wounded like the entire game.
All right. So into our main topic, it's like I have it as well. It's a lot of stuff because there's been a lot going on.
Whoa, it's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. I think first of all,
Star Wars up in this B.
First of all, Shatterpoint's out now. You can officially get your stuff. I think we all know this, except for the places that can't get it yet. I hope you the best of luck in getting your packages, and my condolences.
I would say that I feel your pain, but I don't. I'm a fairly empathic person, but I just don't understand what it's like for you right now. So I would say that I'm sorry. I have my toys.
I have heard though that there are like some stores that are actually like compensating for like the miss, I guess, like either a discount on something or the other.
Mox sold out of all core sets opening weekend. So
Wow.
whatever amount that they ordered, I don't know what it was, but Monday after the weekend of release, they were sold out. They got in a restock. On Saturday, they had one, which also sold.
That's insane.
And like the intro event had like 2 hardcore employees who were like into it.
Yeah.
And then I think we had about 9 people show up that were either playing, demoing, had copies, like that sort of thing, which I think is great. That is a great place to start. And that may not seem like a ton, but in Seattle area, people just go to their local store, right? Like people don't want to move around that much. So just 9 in like the Bellevue area for a random intro event. Love it. I am so excited that gonna be a good community, and everybody was really cool. Listener showed up and said he was glad that I reel in Dizzard. I was like, I don't know if it works that way.
He says that, or they say that you reel me
because he
in.
listens to both shows, and
okay.
so he was like, Dizzard just goes off on tangents. I'm glad they're there to like pull him back in a little bit. I was like, don't expect too much from me, all right? Like, I'll do what I can.
I think it's funny because I would say this is less tangents than Rogue Agents, but I think it just like it kind of just builds on itself, and like I drink more on Rogue Agents, but
So you're saying you don't like drinking with us?
No, I love drinking with you guys.
Or is it just me? Because you drink a lot with Sam, so you're just saying you don't want to drink a lot with. This is personal.
Charles, you're our adult. Come on.
You're our adult.
Oh God. Oh, what the fuck? What did I get myself into?
You're the adult here.
Like, you might be the bad uncle, but you're still the adult.
I am the bad uncle.
You are the bad uncle.
I literally told my brother when my first nephew was born, I was like, don't worry. When he comes to me and wants beer as a teenager, I promise you I will get him good stuff and not shitty Budweiser.
As you pull out a Natty Light.
Dude, my nephews will only be drinking craft beer, IPAs, and such. There's gonna be none of this like generic.
Don't until it's done.
Yeah.
Right. Anyways, I think the first thing I want to hit real quick is fast releases. Whoa. We saw the spoil, I guess, or leak, not really a leak, but like Asmodee's store put up that they were also doing Cad Bane alone in August. I think Padme is too, isn't she? So it's kind of like there's a lot of stuff coming out. We get Mace, Inquisitors, and the dual pack next month. Then
we don't get Mace next month. I thought it's Luminara, Inquisitors.
Oh, sorry, I'm a month ahead. Yeah. So
Luminara,
Inquisitors,
and
dual
Vader
pack.
and Obi pack.
Yep.
In July.
And then August is Mace, Mother, Cad,
Grievous.
No, Grievous is in October.
What?
Yeah.
That far?
Yeah,
okay.
It says September 30th, so I'm saying that's October.
Okay.
So
but
Cad,
Mace,
Mother.
Thought there was something else too.
Is there another Padme? Is it Padme that month?
Oh yeah, maybe.
You guys had me at the namesake of Shatterpoint is coming.
So Mike,
when Mace Windu shows up, that's
Mike says Plo Koon. Oh no, it is Padme. Okay, but so that's 4 boxes. Like they are really pushing the releases, and I think the biggest thing to note on here is, I think this is something that AMG just does. Is their game comes out, they want to push releases to get people playing, and then they're going to slow down. I think Schick has even said it.
Variety.
Yeah, I think Schick has even said in an interview, like, this is like what they did with MCP. They're going to have a lot of releases at first, and they're going to dial it back to be a more reasonable number. So before people start screaming on... They
dialed it back for MCP.
Yes, they did. It went from 4 boxes a month down to like 2. And then back up and then back down. It's a teeter-totter.
I have one vented frustration that I want to express about Shatterpoint. Because for the most part, things are great. But I went to pre-order my stuff for July, and this is now my least favorite thing about any game, is going to like pre-order your stuff and be like, all right, I want to pre-order Luminara and the Vader and Obi pack and the Inquisitors, and having the staff be like, do you know the name of the boxes?
Oh,
that's so difficult. That makes pre-ordering so hard. Yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
fuck.
I
So I have to
know
look up.
what you're talking
I
about.
literally am like looking up the boxes to be like, plans and preparation. Of course, that's like not even close to Luminara and Barris, right? Like, at least with MCP, it's like, I would like this. And so it's like the fact that they're doing these cool names for the boxes, I'm over it already. Just
That's
name
fair.
them after the characters.
That's
That is
fair.
my one complaint.
Or at least make them findable in like the Asmodee system,
Yeah.
where it's like you can look it up by the character or the
Right,
expansion
but like
name.
most
give me
stores are gonna have
something
to
go
fill
off
it out,
for
right,
sure.
for their like ordering person to go like order stuff, right? And if they're putting down Luminar and Barris, even if there's a way to search it, like how are they gonna know? Like if you are not intimately familiar with that particular game in Asmodee, like you could just have someone not end up with their stuff. You're like, oh,
That's
we
true.
didn't get your pre-order in because
Naming
the
conventions.
the naming conventions. They didn't see something named Luminara, and so they couldn't order it. And I was like, that sucks.
That's
I
actually a
could
very
probably-
interesting point.
Run an entire topic on the importance of a game store having like an employee champion of every game. But
Yes, I mean that's its own thing. But how versed your inventory, like how easily you make this for your ordering person, I think is important.
But I think the biggest thing here also though is don't feel like you have to buy everything. Buy what you want.
faction loyalty. Faction
Yeah.
loyalty.
I want to get the dual pack, and depending on what Inquisitors use, I'll get Inquisitors. But other than that, I'm probably just getting the dual pack next month. And then August is Cad and Mother for me. Everything else, screw the good guys.
Wow, harsh.
I mean, and
It
then
hurts me.
I mean, he
I'm
said
giving
he
me a
wants to
second
have
Obi-Wan,
sex
like,
with the
next
good
month.
guys. I don't think that's.
I'm-
I mean, it's
I'm
an insult
grabbing-
unless
Wow.
Dizzard's bad at it. He was
Grabbing
like, I
another
want to screw
good
the
guy
good
next
guys,
month.
oh
I will
man.
continue to play Obi-Wan plus another good guy.
All right.
Give me original
What
trilogy
else do
stuff.
you guys think about these fast releases? Are you here for it, or are you a little
Give me
overwhelmed?
OT. Give me Kylo and Rey and give me OT. However many fast releases we need between now and me getting what I want, I'm fine with it.
Punish the people who are obsessed with original trilogy for as long as possible. I love hearing the complaints because it's all the time. And it's like, I need the original trilogy stuff. And I was like, I respect that. But also, the Clone Wars is a better era for a game.
Wow.
To be fair, like during the Adepticon keynote thing, they showed models for Galactic
Yeah,
Civil
they're already
War.
doing Return of the Jedi stuff, which I
so
think
it's
is
like I imagine we'll probably see that stuff for the end of the year.
oh yeah, it's
for
probably
Christmas.
September, October.
Especially with how fast we're getting stuff. Like by August, we'll have almost half of the keynote. Like, oof.
Overall, I
Anyway.
mean, it's good. We need
Yeah.
options. Like you want to be able to shake things up a little bit and be able to have like some diversity. Even like you don't want like it would be nice to have something where you maybe like see Anakin change out his team a little bit, right? Like give him there should be another troop option for him at
Yeah.
some point, right? And I would like to see that be a thing.
I'd rather see a secondary for him. I'd rather see like a cheaper secondary for Anakin.
But that feels
Anakin,
hard. Rex
Anakin
is
without
so
Rex,
good.
yeah, Anakin without
Absolutely.
Rex, it seems weird though too. Like it's either Rex or Padawan Ahsoka, in my opinion.
Yeah, until we see like what the new cool one does. How many points does Django cost? 4? Django's
Yeah.
4?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think another thing to talk about with this though too is a lot of events coming up. Gen Con, Nova are the two that I know the biggest, have like already included Shatterpoint events in their what's going on. I don't know what else is going on, so this is really cool and awesome. If you're planning on going to an event soon, maybe check out to see if they have included Shatterpoint in their list as well. And if not, maybe reach out to the people doing it if you're interested in running one. I'm sure people know the AMG name by now, and that's plus Asmodee too. Probably wouldn't be too hard to get in on a local event or a con of some kind.
Hey, if you're Pacific Northwest, I am planning to be at Mox next Saturday and playing some Mandos. They've committed. They're calling it Shatterday. So every Saturday, Mox Bellevue is going to be Shatterpoint.
So since it's in Bellevue, are you sure it's not Charter Day?
See, that's the thing.
Ooh.
Greg makes me think, like, I'm blaming Greg because of his calling things Shatter Point.
Charter point.
I keep, every time I see Shatter Day, I think Charter Day.
That's immediately what I thought. I was like Charter Day. Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right.
I would say if you're
go ahead.
But they're committed
one
to
thing on the
Saturdays.
cons.
Saturdays is
One
good
thing
for
on the
me.
cons.
Yeah.
One thing on the cons, and I have two things for the rapid release schedule for what it's worth. On the cons, the things are selling out very quietly, very quickly.
Yeah.
So if like you're looking to get in on a Shatterpoint at the con that you're going to, like look into it like right away.
Yeah, I think like we found out about it, and that day it was already like there's 4 tickets left. It's like wow.
Yep. Which I think we took 2 of. Like
Yeah. Omnis, I don't know if you've heard, but if Sam and I make the finals for Nova for MCP, we're dropping to go play casual Shatterpoint.
Achievement unlocked. If I can do it, I will. And then on the rapid release schedule, the two things that always concern me with this is that there's no time to catch your feet. That you're just constantly like grabbing new things and tossing them into your list, and like you're not actually like growing as a player so much as just trying new things. And so be careful of that. Watch out for that. And then the second one on the rapid release schedule is don't let that get in the way of what you want to play.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's very much the case of like buy what you want to play. Like the game's still new. Like there isn't even a meta for this game yet. People like even us might say there's a meta, but like there really isn't a meta yet in this game.
Until something is locked behind a box, I have no reason to buy anything but the things that I want to.
Yeah.
And please don't change.
There's
that
no tactics cards. So
yeah, it's
Or
like
mission cards.
honestly, it's the struggles that are like the only thing that I'm concerned about.
Coffee says there's a meta and Maul's not it. I will make you take that back someday when Mother and
I
Cad
didn't
Bang
say
come
it.
out. When
I
Mother
just
and Cad
want to
Bang
go
come
on the
out-
record. I have not been anti-Maul this episode.
I know you're the
But
one who's
Coffee's
not. It's
here
just
for us.
Coffee.
I was considering Maul as one of the easier models to paint.
Yeah.
So there was a possibility
even
that
with
I
the
was gonna play
tattoos,
Maul, but-
even with the tattoos.
I mean, by comparison to like Ahsoka, like Ahsoka's way more complicated to paint than.
Does she have
Maul.
lines for the?
Yeah,
I think
she's
so.
got lines
I'm
for.
very
for
impressed
stuff.
with the amount of lines that they've put on things that I've had to freehand in other Star Wars IP games.
Yeah.
Like my Imperial Assault and my
But-
Legion stuff had a lot more.
Gizzard, I will
freehanding
tell
than
you,
this
I'm
does.
at least going to like put Maul back on the table with the Mandos and such, and see how I like it. Like play with and without Maul,
okay.
and at some point we will have another conversation.
Anybody who is struggling with Maul, here's what you do. Okay, don't eat your health round 1 because 1+1 die isn't a lot. Like it's nothing. Like there's no reason to get 3 damage round 1. Just stay on Sinister Cunning, throw your lightsaber at something, use your force to force run, but take the damage and try to get that heal back so you're at full health still. Like there's no reason to just like. Oh.
All right, I feel like this is enough Maul conversation. Are we done with Chamber of Judgment?
I played.
We've been off Chamber
We've
Judgment
been
for a
off
hot
Chamber
minute.
Judgment for a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
I played Annie Maul for one of my games this week, and I got to say that I warmed to Maul quite a lot. And I would counterpoint your point about not using like as a hard and fast rule. Don't use any Maul force or Maul health for force turn 1. I preserved force for Annie to double tap.
Yeah.
By activating
I think it depends on what you're doing
That has
overall,
nothing.
but like I like the whole Maul and Mandos and like using force run. I don't really think the +1 die round 1 is worth it, but we'll get off. We're not really into that right now. Next topic on this is day 1 errata, which I think is huge because AMG I guess has a history with MCP that they built up where they were like, we don't want errata stuff. And then they did with some stuff, and here the game wasn't even out yet, and they come out with a day 1 errata. What are your guys' thoughts and feelings, number 1, of them doing this as a company, and 2, how these erratas are affecting the game?
I love you,
Sam?
AMG. Thank you for that.
I was like,
No,
You
like
go,
just
Sam.
I love when games are curated. It makes me very happy. It makes me feel like the game designers are paying attention and that their baby is as important to them as it is to us, the players. And when they come out and just tell us like, hey, you know what? We didn't consider that this is how people would play the game. This is how we wanted the game to be played. We want it to be this simple. We want it to be this fun. We don't want you to have to go like, wait, what? at what we thought was a very simple rule. Turns out it wasn't. Play it this way instead. That's how we think you should do it. That's great. And then like the other like quality of life things that they did for the day one errata, go for it. I love it. I want more of it. And I want it scheduled, but that's fine. Just give me curation and I'm happy.
My thoughts are what Sam said.
I'm gonna say as well what Sam said, but also throw in there the added character errata for Dooku. It just makes it play better. Like it really does. I think that
what was the Dooku change?
Dooku change was he had to spend force before, like when he was targeted, he had to spend force. Now it's he can do it after the dice have been rolled.
Oh, I mean, I don't think he needed more perfect knowledge.
It
But that's
it
how
makes
we
that
always
ability.
played it.
It makes
That's how we've played it.
I no longer fully agree with Sam. That was a positive change.
No, I think
Good. That was a short-lived moment of like unity. That was just a little
all I
too
have,
much
to,
unity.
all I
for
have
me.
to do is keep talking. All I have to do is keep talking. I'll miss somebody.
I definitely think that like before that ability was next to like almost never used, and it was only like, I'm about to shuffle my deck anyways. I'm out to spin the force.
Yeah.
And then now
Never
it's
mind,
like
he's a separatist. Fuck Dooku. Who cares about droids?
See now.
Oh, never mind. I'm back with
Oh,
Now I
Sam.
agree with
Oh,
Andre.
my God.
Fucking nerfs the shit out of these stupid droids.
All right,
Nobody
coffee
should
time.
play droids.
Coffee
The
time.
droids I like are
Best.
HK-47.
Coffee time asked a question: how much did the hunker change feel like it was from the hip, and less as something they've tested for a long time? I don't think it really matters, to be honest. Like I don't know. Me personally, I don't really care. It's a good change for the game, in my personal opinion, and I like it. So I really don't care if it was from the hip or if it was been planned out and they were just waiting until release to do it. Because they've been testing this game for who knows how long. At least 18 months is what they say their typical timeline is for doing stuff. At least for MCP, I imagine it's the same. So it probably wasn't from the hip, but whether it was or whether it wasn't, I think it's the right decision for this game.
I don't fully agree there. I had an awkward situation in game 2 where it's like I moved up Dooku, I hunkered him behind a bunch of crates. So I'm like, I'm doing everything to have cover, and then like some clones come up and like one engages me, so I lose hunker tokens, and then the other one shoots me and I don't have cover.
Okay.
And
Clones, though, you just lived clone life right there. Because that's like what clones do all the time. You made the decision to move and hunker, which I think is far more often than not in this game a more correct decision than moving and attacking. You decided to move and hunker.
well, I moved in hunker because there was no one there. It was literally my first
Sure.
activation.
My point is that you decided to move and then hunker, and then you got blown off the table, which is clone life from like start to finish.
I just like it just felt really weird that I'm like I did everything that I was supposed to try to like
I
have
know.
cover
God, I
and
know.
then don't. And it just that felt a little weird. And so I'm not like 100% with that.
To be completely honest, though, like so, let's say you did that
Be
exact same.
completely honest, Israel,
let's say-
because
let's-
you lie a
let's say-
lot. So
Okay, first of all, Ben says play Obi. Then that would.
Oh my
To you.
god, that was my takeaway from the mall game. Like takeaway number 1 was, oh my god, this game is so much harder without Obi-Wan. Takeaway 2 was, Maul's not as bad as Omnis thinks.
Yeah. Wow. I'm here for it. But even if like it was old cover rules, it would have only been one die, which I don't know. I've kind of come to a realization with this game where things either die or they don't die. It's either a one hit KO or it's a you did nothing. I very hardly see the in betweens. Coffee and I played again the other day.
do we even play the same game?
Maybe.
It's
But,
always
It's all
the
about
in
the criticals,
betweens.
baby.
No,
It's all about
like
the criticals.
no. Most of my games are very much I'm attacking this person. I should do a couple of damage. Oh, they're dead. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that works. Or it's I'm attacking this person. I only gotta do like 3 damage. The only game I've had where it's very much like plinking is I played against Coffee, and it was very much like as End of Struggle 1. Almost none of our characters are wounded, and almost everybody has at least 3 damage on them. And it was very much like, oh my god, like everybody's like a breath away from just like being knocked out. And but like it was
This is
so
like
weird.
2 hours into your game, right?
It was like an hour. But it was very much just like plinking, and then I'm so used to it where it's like, oh, I'm gonna attack this person, and they're dead. I'm gonna attack this person. Oh, I just completely whiffed. It's for me. It's very rarely like I'm just gonna do a couple damage and a condition. It's very much I'm just gonna kill this person, or I just did absolutely nothing.
You live in some sort of dice anomaly where the rest of us don't know.
I play X-Force.
Yeah, you play Maul, yeah. By
Maul.
the way, Sam, I just gotta say, like, it is hilarious when I'm like, my opinion is that Maul is probably gonna get replaced by better primaries, and then you're like, by the way, I'm gonna replace Maul with a better primary, but also Omnis is wrong.
That's how.
My entire squad was built around Rebels, but it was like someone else's
Rebels?
first game.
Built around Rebels?
What, good guys, whatever. It's just generic good guys for me.
No.
We just play good guys. Yes, we
Rebels
do.
aren't good guys. They're trying to take down the heroic empire that's trying to bring peace to the galaxy.
Good guys.
I'm with Omnis on this one. They are just bad people just trying to overthrow a
trying
government.
to revive the Jedi Order,
Like-
a bunch of baby kidnapping cultists.
Okay. All right. You guys done?
No.
That's not even worth it.
All
That's fine.
right. So something else that came out, which is super big and exciting for anybody into competitive events or anybody who wants to go to events in general, is
I have a
what?
comment for coffee too.
Oh my god. Okay, go ahead.
My comment for coffee is that even if it was from the hip, I'm okay with it so long as they continue to curate the game.
Fair.
Han Solo is okay with shooting from the hip. Coffee. Our Han Solo enthusiast is like, shoot from the hip? Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm Sammy Two Views. Shoot from the hip. Cover.
Reel this
Dooku.
back in.
Pop, pop, pop. Can we get a little Anakin buff in there? Yeah. Yeah, Anakin should have 8 squad points.
You might need it. Just saying.
Because he sucks. Anyways,
Sucks seems strong because
where's Kenny?
Takes down
No, I think Anakin's great. I think everybody in the core box is fine. I think everybody in the core box is a solid character, and they're going to see plenty of use for the longevity of this game. I really do think that the lifetime of this game, I think this core box is really solid. They're all really good characters. They're all going to be used for a long time. That being
How much
said,
did AMG pay you to say that? I don't care.
that being said, Anakin
are you
is
not
by
sharing
far.
the loot with us?
Let me tell you this. By far, Anakin is the worst primary in the game because he's the one-trick pony, and he's got like nowhere to grow. He's got nowhere to go. Maul has all the keywords and no synergies yet, but as soon as he gets those synergies, man.
Okay,
on top
can we
of that,
move on to a real topic?
Okay.
What are we talking about next, Izzy?
Okay, so next, we're talking about Omnis's favorite thing in the world that has come out of AMG for Shatterpoint, and that is premiere events. So, Omnis, do you want to give us low down and dirty of what these premiere events are and what your hot takes are? While you do this, I'll be right back.
He's like, Omnis, why don't you share your thoughts? I'm going to leave for this part, though. I don't want to have to listen to it. He needs more alcohol to be able to enjoy Omnis.
So he'll for sure be more coherent when he comes back.
Yeah, he'll be totally fine. All right. Well, so listeners, if you're not familiar with the Premiere format, what we've got is you're going to choose 4 squads. So if you're not familiar with the terminology, like a strike team is 2 squads, right? And so when you're going to play in a Premiere event, you're going to bring 4 squads with no overlapping characters. And you cannot have both Ahsokas. Or if we get another character down the road, we don't know how this is going to work with Vader because you can't play Vader with Anakin, but we don't. His is a special rule, so we don't know whether or not you would be able to play Vader and Anakin in separate squads in the Premiere format or not. But you got to play all 4 over the course of the event, no matter how long it is. But what this does mean is if you have a favorite squad, like say you just love playing Anakin and Rex and the 501st, and that's your jam, and you want to play that every game, you can, and you just rotate squad 2.
Can we say Kenny? Kenny, that's for you. Listen to what I'm saying.
Kenny. But if you want to rotate and play double Mandos one game, and then you want to play Separatists the next game, or Annie and Obi the next game, you can totally just switch and play a totally different team, play a totally different strike team. You really can do both, which I think is a solid direction. I've heard complaints from the online community that this is awkward for online events because you might want to jump into playing the new stuff when they get announced. I don't play online; I play in person. So
It's
my
such an
level of
online pet peeve.
I was like, my level, like, I was like, I don't understand. And then they were like, oh, how it interacts with online events, and then us instantly playing characters who are a month away from being released. I was like, oh, that's a unique problem to
or
to
more,
you.
or more. It could be longer than a month. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
But I was like, that's its own thing. Like, Dizzard will decide whether that applies to an online thing or not. But overall, I think an OP document day one is great.
Yes.
Is good. Like, it lets them set the stage for what I mean. I think they learned their lessons with MCP, and I can take partial responsibility as one of the people who's like, if you're not going to release an OP document, we will.
Don't make us.
Yeah, like we'll do it, and so then you have no control over what's in the OP document. And so they did one, which I think is great. It sets a stage, and like you don't have to run a premiere event if it's not good for you. But on the flip side,
just watch it. Dizzard drink his new drink was.
He's like, oh man, I need more alcohol to deal with on this. So Dizzard, to catch you up, we just said all the things that we said on Discord, that having an OP document day one is a good thing. Yep. We understand what it is. Where would you like us to go next?
Premiere.
Lord Dizzard.
What is Premiere?
Yeah, what is Premiere?
I explained what Premiere is.
Oh, okay. What are your initial hot takes?
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I meant.
Initial hot takes. I've just been talking a lot. Why don't you do your hot takes?
Okay, so my initial hot takes are: this is amazing. It shows that AMG is in support and they know where this game's going to go. Because, in my opinion, them releasing an OPD day one with this errata shows that they know where the community is going to take this game. And that's going to be, they want events. They want to play with something that is from the company instead of people making up their own rules of this is how they think it should go, which I'm pretty sure I heard you see at the very end. But it's very much, but with chess clocks. But I really do think though, like this is like a really good start for events. And I think that it's fun. I think Premiere is going to be the way to go. And I definitely think that you're going to need chess clocks. I don't care at me if you want.
I didn't bring up the mission critical, or I forget what the rule is called.
Mission critical.
I didn't get a chance. Like, if you haven't read it, but in the last, so the idea is that the round goes for 2 hours, like plus or minus, or like plus somewhere between 1 to like 5 minutes or something. But that part's irrelevant. The important part is after an hour and a half of the round, if you are still playing, the struggle moves in one on each person's turn. And so, like, it just naturally will, like, speed up the ability to end struggles, which I think is just, like, a really cool way. Like, sure, it could just totally change a game, right? Where, like, somebody who is going to get one shy of winning now will get a win, you know, and maybe you had a plan to, like, come back after that. But in the end, I think it's a really cool rule that will still help, like, I think this game will at least function a little bit better without chess clocks compared to MCP. I think MCP might need chess clocks more so than any other game I've ever played. But with Shatterpoint, I think this might be like at least semi-functional where smaller stores are going to be able to more easily run events without chess clocks. But I mean, that's going to take like playing in events to really know for sure. I think chess clocks are still the high competitive choice down the road, but I think this was fine. This is at least I would be fine to like play in something and not like feel like chess clocks or not having chess clocks is going to like be immediately ugly.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Except for I don't agree with it because number one, mission critical, right? The last 30 minutes, the active player gets a token. So what's to stop me from just being like, cool, my last turn is now 30 minutes long?
I hate you.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong though. Tell me I'm wrong. Like there are you can have
Watch me blow up your
activations.
community. Watch me blow up our community.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But it's like it happens. It does. You've played miniature games for how long? You can't tell me it's not going to happen.
I'm sorry.
I think that is an exaggerated version of the real problem.
Yeah.
But I think we all know what chess clocks do and don't do. I don't really want to spend that much time on this topic because there's way more interesting stuff to talk about with Premiere.
I agree.
That I'm excited for. So, like, long run, I think we all agree chess clocks are probably still going to be an improvement. But OP document, day one, fantastic.
Agreed.
Right? Like, I think we all kind of agree on that point.
Okay. Like, now, next thing. Premiere versus standard. I said I think Premiere is probably going to be the ipso facto, like this is the way to run events. It was brought to me at one point that somebody said that they think for smaller stores, standard might be better. Also, with how new the game is right now, standard's probably better. But I think with this wave of releases by August, you can run Premiere events just fine.
I think you can, but I think if we're talking about like a Saturday 3-rounder at your local, I think we're talking about a standard event.
I can agree with that.
Talking about like a 4 or 5 round day, a con, like a larger event that you're trying to draw from like your region or things like that. That I think you lean immediately into Premiere for.
Okay, so here's like let's take a look. I don't know if this is like the format that people are going to go to with Shatterpoint, but MCP has very much adopted Shatterpoint. MCP has very much adapted or adopted this. You have your tournaments, you have your heats, then you go to a cuts to decide your finals. I could easily see Shatterpoint going to a very similar format as this. In a case like this, do you think it'd be better to do Premiere for the heat and then a standard for the finals, or Premiere all the way if you're doing these high-end competitive things?
Sam, do you want to go first?
I personally think you set the event for the day and you move on from there.
Okay.
Like, so we either play we play a standard event and we're probably just going to go 3 rounds and that's going to be that, or we're going to say that it's a 5-round standard event, or we're going to say that it's a 5-round Premiere event. So personally, I don't think that you swap that up over the course of the event. I don't think you want to lock people in to those decisions. I think that everyone in a cut has more fun being able to bring their tech in than taking a quick read of the people who also made the cut and making whip snap decisions about their like squad that they're going to bring to a top 8 in an event, and just say no, I'm in the top 8 now. I'm going to bring Obi and Luminara, and that's what I'm going to bring because that's my best chance, right, against that field.
Well, I also think
being like I'm going to have all my tech.
I also think that the whole you have to play every squad for the Premiere is like the ticket. I think that's probably my favorite clause of the whole entire Premiere thing is, hey, you're bringing 4 squads, but you have to play all 4 squads. And to me, that says you're going to have one game that is going to be suboptimal because of your strike team.
That's kind of why I think that you shouldn't have the smaller, like, lower round count events.
But you laugh, but like
Premiere events.
You laugh, but tell me I'm wrong. Like there's going to be one game in that event that you're playing Premiere that you're going to have a suboptimal team until I guess we have like maximum synergies across the board.
I mean, I would just do that first round, to be perfectly honest, unless like I lined up against something that I felt that like my weakest stuff was a
submarine.
It was hard countered, right? Because like like what's your worst case scenario? You submarine the day, or you get your like I got to get this out of the way.
It's also very much like. If I go, let's just say I'm 3-0 right now, about to go into the 4th round, I have to play this suboptimal team now. And I'm not saying that it's all suboptimal. I'm just saying that the chances of you ending up with a strike team that's suboptimal versus your other and your preferred is going to probably happen. Or something's going to happen. That's just what I see. Coffee Time saying, Annie Ahsoka, Annie Lumi, Annie Obi. Seems fine except for one person there. That's your constant. Anyways, go ahead on this.
All right, let me hop in here for a second. So first off, I agree with the general sentiment that the play all is the best part.
Yeah.
And I think what's important here is not about the competitive. And I know this is going to be a weird sentence for me. Because am I the most competitive person on the show? Like, I don't know if I have that same level of drive I did in my 30s. But I'm a pretty competitively driven person. But I don't think the most important part of that rule is the high-end competitive side of things. I think it's for the average player experience where no matter what is the best at any given time, you are not going to play against that every single round
Yeah.
of an event.
I think that's
I
the
think-
overall. That's the overall point that I'm trying to get to. Is you're gonna have. No. I think Omnis is right here. I think this thing is gonna allow you at one point during the day where, unless you're just draw unlucky and you're always playing into their most optimal squad. Like,
Yeah, I mean, unless you're like the best player in the meta and everybody's throwing Annie Obi against you every single round.
You could have a winning day in Premier and play against the same thing every single
You
round.
can, but my point is that everyone is going to have to know how to play 4 different squads and be ready to play those over the course of an event. And I think that's just good for the general player experience. Where no matter, like, if there is ever a super broken squad, it doesn't matter that much because you still have to know how to play a bunch of different things. And I think that's good for the game.
You know what I see? You know what I see right here? I see cogs in Omnis's head that's making him think back to freaking Masters.
Oh, I mean, the thing that got me into War Machine in the very beginning was reading a battle report from both players who played in a Masters format event where it was 4 lists, play all 4 rounds.
Yeah.
See, and now that I can get behind. I feel like this, I would be more inclined to just be like, yes, let's do this. I'm all in on it. If it was, instead of you have to play each squad once, it's that after every game you cross off one of those squads and you don't get to play it again for the rest of the day.
Now, mind you, like, we get into the depths of it, and like in the long run, we kind of determined that there was a negative side of that was a little too random for War Machine, where they actually like kind of did away with the whole like divide and conquer rule that required you to play all of your lists, and a lot of people just genuinely thought it was a better game without that. But that was the thing that super drew me in to competitive play. This idea of faction mastery. And now in that, you were playing 4 lists that were all from a particular faction, and I don't think that necessarily works in Shatterpoint. But I just think in general, it's a good thing that from day one, we're going to be kind of encouraged to know how to play multiple things. I may love Mandos, right? And I love Mandos right now, but I need to be ready to either play Mandos and Separatists or Mandos and Clones. I cannot play all Mandos all day at an event. I think that's good for me as a player to have to grow and learn more of the game. And maybe I find something that I really enjoy. And I think it's also good for opponents where you're just going to like play against a wide variety of things over the course of lots of different games.
No, absolutely.
I think along with that, though, is we also come into the part of same names across your squads for the premiere event, where we were kind of hinting at earlier with the whole Ahsoka and Padawan Ahsoka thing. I think this brings up a really interesting point of not being able to do that. And
I can tell you 100% from working with AMG on MCP stuff, I promise you, I would bet money that there was a conversation where their employees said, we do not want to end up with a situation where someone is last round trapped into playing an illegal combination.
Well, that's the very first thing that came up when people were asked, like, can I do this? And it's like, no, that's why it's this way. Like,
right.
Like
I mean, I'm probably the person who said that's why it's this way.
Yeah.
But like they don't want a situation where someone doesn't think through the possibilities and then is undefeated going into the final round and they're like, "Oh, I haven't played my Ahsoka squad or my Ahsoka squad."
Yeah.
And now I literally cannot legally play this game. And that's just a shitty experience, and I get that they want to avoid that, but I would bet money that is the reason for that. Whether it's good or bad, I'm not really going to say. I think you could give players a certain degree of accountability and be like, you can have Ahsoka secondary and Ahsoka primary. You need to be. I think that is something a tournament organizer could choose to errata themselves.
Coffee
Right?
says
whatever they say about Vader is going to be really telling.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
like, Vader's going to have his own stipulation.
Yeah, let me look at something real quick. Good, keep talking.
So
That's what Coffee said.
Do we want to stick on this topic, or I kind of want to get into talking a little bit about like what are we thinking? Like what are we thinking for premier teams? Like if we had a premier, like how is this affecting our choices of what to play? Like for you, Sam, you obviously you're like kind of on board with like Annie and Obi, and then maybe you're now like also have an Ahsoka team. Like who's
Obi
your
scares
fourth team?
me. To be perfectly clear here, Obi's very Annie is very scary to me. Is what I should say.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I'm not a huge.
We're talking about something, Dizzard. You can
We're gonna
chill
talk
your roll
about
for
like
a moment.
what you're actually gonna like, what you would think about bringing to Premiere. Right now.
Yeah.
And the idea for what you would bring to Premiere right now, I feel like it's kind of limited, but you want to bring as many. Like I think that like once like we've got Luminara, and we've got Mace or Plo Koon or some other like Republic Jedi. Like, okay, now you can just stay in your faction loyalty.
Yeah, but outside of hypotheticals, what are you thinking like right now? Like how has it impacted your what to play and what to test?
No, it hasn't. I mean, I would bring I would be looking, so if I was going to go into a premiere event right now out of like core box and current releases,
Maul.
I would Maul like basically
Shush
has to make
your
the
face. Sammy Two Pews is talking.
I would have to do Annie and Obi. I would feel compelled to bring Ahsoka. I would be hard pressed to decide which one, which would probably come down to like what I was allowed to bring. And if I was a TO putting on an event, I would not be allowing Padawan Ahsoka until the Plo Koon release, for what that's worth. Like that's like a bonus for people who got lucky, not something to like be like, let's give this guy an advantage because he got lucky at like the raffle. You know, like that's not how I want to run events as a
or
TO.
you pay too much on eBay.
Six per store
sure.
did not feel like enough.
Yeah. It was supposed to be 8. They dropped down to 6, and it's just like, So I think that for me, Premiere would probably be Annie, Obi, Asajj, and Maul for my primaries. And Annie, Obi, Asajj. No, Ahsoka has to be in there. So I would not run Asajj. I would run Maul over Asajj.
Yes, that's right. That is correct.
I would run Maul and Ahsoka with Mandos. I would run. If I was going to a premiere event, I would be tempted to pick up the Dooku box just to pick up Jango and get him in like the overarching list. And I would probably try to knock out my off squads like right away, and then I would just run my like preferred squad for the.
So I want to clarify. So you're kind of in the camp of like, you have a strike team. You have your optimal strike team of Annie and Obi with all the clones, and that's the strike team that you want to play 3 out of 4 games or 4 out of 5 games.
So actually, Obi Ahsoka is my preference. I'm playing Annie and Obi right now for the memes. Sometimes. Okay. So I'm not sure if I like her better with Mandos or if I like the more clone synergy. I think that the more you can leverage Obi's abilities, I think you're getting a lot of value out of Obi. Like the more you leverage his, it's not called a passive. Someone help me out here. His signature. His signature. The more you can leverage Obi-Wan's signature ability, the closer he gets to being the best character in the game.
Well, I guess the main point that I wanted to get to with it, you're more in the camp of, this is my primary strike team, not a primary squad, your primary strike team, both squad combination, and you're going to probably play a different strike team one game to get it out of the way, and you want to play your primary strike team most rounds.
Yeah, but
that's kind of your camp.
For what
and
I'm not.
I think that's
what's
what's
the
really
best thing in the world. I'm playing it because that's what I want to play If I'm going to play Shatterpoint, they said, hey, you can play any of these characters. And so I said, okay, well, I like this one and I like this one. So I'll play them. And Ahsoka kind of took Annie's spot because her game impact, in my opinion, is so much deeper than Anakin's game.
Because Anakin doesn't do nothing. He's a one-trick pony. I said it.
Okay, so I almost wound up in a situation with Anakin where he, I think, could have flipped the scoreboard.
Okay.
Like during my activation, and like we could have gone to the next struggle, which would have been amazing. Like if I could have managed that would have been amazing. And I don't know if that's actually legal because I didn't look at the rules because it was one off.
Yeah.
But like if I wound this secondary, I could have put the momentum tracker.
But then you're putting the results. You're putting the results of your game on dice, where Ahsoka can do the same thing and manipulate the end scoring.
Let's not argue about which of the primaries are better right now. We're talking about the premier format.
Okay.
It was what do you?
Okay, so first of all, okay, so let's look at this right here. Count Dooku, right? And then down here, Count Dooku. So I get a feeling that Vader will be Darth Vader. And then down here, we'll say Anakin Skywalker, which will not let you play Anakin and Darth Vader in the same.
Wouldn't it be great if it was a question mark? If it was a question mark.
Dizzard, stay with us on the topic. How are you feeling about Premiere?
I needed to say that. But to finish that thought, though, on page 9 of the rulebook, you can see General Anakin Skywalker. And then underneath it just says Anakin Skywalker. So I think that's how they're going to differentiate you being able to run certain characters or not.
Right. So I think the point that we were getting to, or at least that Amos was that like they're trying to make this foolproof so that you can't put yourself in an illegal list situation. And if you can't bring Anakin Skywalker in 2 instances, I think that they're going to like they basically have to say, like for a premiere event, all of the characters you bring should be like basically treated as though you're putting them in a squad together. Yeah. And if you can't put them in, a strike team together, and if you can't put them in a strike team together,
then you can't.
You can't bring them in your premiere like.
And I agree with that. I agree. For me, if I was to do a strike team right now, this very or a premiere event right now, this very second. Are we talking about? Are we talking about what's released, or are we talking about we're going to include July as well?
So
we're saying
the 2 parts to this is how does it affect your testing, and is your strategy more of I want to play one strike team as much as possible or one squad as much as possible, or are you like you have a preferred strike team that you want to play most of the time and you're going to have to play a totally different strike team at least one game, which is kind of
so my thoughts with it is yes, it alters how I build my squads and my strike teams, because I was like, cool, I'm going to run Dooku and Maul. Maul's going to take some droids and Dooku's going to take some droids, and then now I'm like, if I want to be able to run Maul as much as possible, I need to run Maul, Ahsoka, all Mandos, and then have Dooku and Asajj all droids as the backup. But I think the biggest thing that comes into play here, though, is looking at the results as the days go on for your event and being able to be like, this person seems to be favoring this strike team and potentially countering it. So I think it's very much, for me, I'm going to be one of those people that favor a certain strike team. That's going to be, for now, Maul, Ahsoka, all Mandos, and then have a decent backup squad. But also paying attention to my opponent's previous games and what they were favoring to see if either the droids would be a better counter or if the Mandos would be a better counter.
And if you're doing that, you're going to identify, like if they're on the same kind of mojo as you, you're going to identify whether or not they've played their off team yet. And
you would
see. They have to.
Yeah, I would see.
Like if it's round 3 of a 3-round day, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I think
I knocked out mine round 1.
I think this is something that launch shanks will actually be really, really good for. Is being able to monitor your opponents before you like get into the game. Coffee brought it up earlier, and I think Ben asked the question. Where was it? And they talked a lot.
That's great.
All right, here, let me share my thoughts on this, and then you can go to their questions. So the first thing is this showed me that I need to test more than just all Mandos, which is part of what led me to testing the Separatists day 1. because it definitely made me think right away, I need to be able to play something besides just oops, all Mandos.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so it immediately made me think, in general, I need to play at least 4 squads. It also made me immediately go, I don't actually care that I didn't get Padawan Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because Ahsoka's probably in the mix there somewhere. Ahsoka's just so good. She's going to see play. And so it immediately is like, okay, I need to kind of cement 4 different squads that I like playing that don't have any character overlap. So it's not just play Ahsoka and play Asajj and play Darth Maul or whatever. Like, I need to not just practice a bunch of different primaries with all Mandos. I need to practice 4 different primaries with 4 different possible, secondaries and support units. So as soon as I'm thinking that way, I'm like, this is good for the game.
I agree.
Right? Like, this is already like it's.
Well, it's also like let's look at Django for instance. I think Django is like one of the biggest, like one of the best secondaries in the game at the moment, because he's offering a lot for anybody. Yeah. Anybody could bring him, and he offers a lot.
He might be the best if it wasn't for Bo-Katan.
That's fair.
I think all the secondaries are really good.
They're all really good.
There's a lot of good secondaries. Like, there's a lot of baller secondaries.
I went from being like Django is like my go-to secondary to being like I need to run Django under Dooku because it's the only way that those squad makes sense. So having the 4 squads actually alters my list construction because now I'm back to just Maul, Ahsoka, all Mandos, and then Django goes under Dooku instead of running Django with Maul. So it does alter what I'm overall looking at for within my squad construction and what I'm playing around with and practicing.
I'm surprised, Dizzard, that you didn't go with more of like a single squad primary approach, because I think that's the third option here from what we've all talked about so far. Is like I play Maul and whatever secondary and whatever support I put with Maul every single game.
Yes.
And then I bring in like this one because I have to round 1. And I have to round 2. And I have to round 3.
So this is why. No. This is why Bo and Clan Kreese are with Maul is so I can do that.
Okay.
Yep. Hey, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say my instinct is right now I want to pick a primary to play with Bo-Katan and Clan Kreese and play them like every game.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I end up with all Mandos and all clones because I think Obi and Annie are like a really strong combination, and maybe I just pick a game to play Annie and Obi.
Oh, I could push you on that.
Right, like I don't think it's going to be hard to like convince me like to play Annie and Obi for a game.
Honestly, I just don't understand. Like, I don't think that they bring anything like as a unit together. I don't think that they're adding anything to each other for what that's worth. They're both very good characters.
Yeah, it's just like Annie and Obi's synergies with it's just kind of like of the things that I can play, Annie and Obi look interesting. I just like the Mandos more. And so it's like either I'm going to play Bo-Katan, Clan Kreese plus primary every game and then rotate the other one, or I work in like Obi, Annie, and like just find a game that I'm cool playing clones. And but it still means that I got to practice all Mandos and practice all clones, or practice a variety of things that doesn't include the super commandos to play with, to play with the all Mandos. But either way, it just makes me want to play more things, which I think is positive.
Does it make you want to play Cody?
I mean, I kind of have to. Like, there really isn't another option.
I think maybe he gets better with commandos in the mix. That he's got another like more
real quick
option.
So earlier, Ben had asked, "Are we asking too much on TOs to make sure everyone has played their 4?" I think this is a very valid question with what we're talking about. Coffee's response was, "I think it's on your opponent to check launch tanks," and I kind of in agreement with Coffee that it's kind of on your opponent to check because TOs checking every single round does seem like a big ask.
I don't think either of these things are too much of an ask. Like, how big are events gonna be right now?
Oh, let's just say down the road, and you're running a 124 person event. Are you literally gonna check the status of every single game to make sure people have played all 4 squads?
Well, I mean, okay. So let's say hypothetically, like I was going to suddenly run an LVO type of invitational. Um, uh, I think we would probably be monitoring it. Like, you're like, okay, there's 64 people. Like, we'll just take note. This person played these two squads in this game, and like just keep track of them. Like,
I do think,
even if I have to have an assistant do it, I think we do it. I think in the grand scheme of things, the vast majority of players are going to self-manage this reasonably well as long as they understand the rules and you don't end up in a situation where someone doesn't realize going into the last round that they have to play all of them. You have a judge announcement as being like, hey, this is a premiere event. You got to play all of them.
Except for the guy that Dizzard brought up earlier that decided to take half an hour for his final turn once we got into the
I'm running chess talk, so I don't give a shit.
That guy is the same guy that's going to be like, oh, what? No, I definitely ran all three. I must have misreported round one because I definitely ran all three.
I really wanted to say a name out loud right there. Like, there was a name in my head where I was like, oh, you mean X? I'm not going to say it.
Definitely ran.
Anyways, is there anything else that you guys want to talk
excited about Premiere, right?
Yeah, we're all excited about Premiere. Is there anything else that you want to like make sure that people know about Premiere?
Play it. I think try it out. Like, at the very least, I would, in general, maybe not like the first event for a store, just because like keep things low stress. Just let people play whatever they have painted or whatever. But I think after the first event, I think play it. Just like let people play more stuff, try more stuff. You never know. You might enjoy the play style of the thing that you didn't think that you know.
Yeah. No, it's taken me a minute to come around to the Obi-Wan and Republic playstyle because I definitely lean towards a playstyle that includes a lot of the options that are being presented to for lack of a better term, dark side characters right now, where you've got force-centered like control on the board, you've got force refreshing. Like basically, you're just like getting extra things, and every time I see these things, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had that kind of cool stuff. I just tell my I have. The
you get super hunker. Like, get out of here.
Hey.
You have super hunker.
Is the dark side stronger? No, it's just easier and faster.
Wow.
Actually, it's stronger.
It's actually stronger.
You guys, no, I've said for weeks now that I think Dooku's the best character in the game, and I'm not going to like come down from that hill yet. I am still standing on that hill, but I think that Obi-Wan might have a higher ceiling for what that's worth. I think that Obi-Wan has a higher ceiling than Dooku. I think that Dooku has a much. Now, this is a hard. So we need to decide how we're going to do this on this show. Are we a high floor means that you come in at a certain skill level?
I think we just don't use that terminology.
I love these terms. I think these are great.
Just say higher skill level, lower skill level. Like, yes, it has the. Oh my god, the other shit is so confusing.
Not if we're consistent, but fine.
No, but like no one's gonna like listen to this one and then like agree, like, oh, that's how I'm gonna interpret all this stuff.
If
2 years down the road,
our usage of it, 2 years down the line, it's gonna be obvious.
People interpret it differently regardless of our intention.
Fair enough.
I just want to avoid those sort of.
I think that Dooku's reactionary ability, his signature
Dooku's more complicated, maybe more complicated.
He has like a higher, like you just come in at a higher level of skill because basically you're given an opportunity, and then the question is like, what do you do with it across the board? And when in Obi-Wan's specific situation, it's like, well, they daze. If they daze, I think the decision's easy. If they don't daze, then wound. If they don't wound, then the decision becomes a lot harder, in my opinion. And then it's also something we haven't talked about, but I hope we do soon, is just about like how much synergy are you baking into your strike team? And the question, for Obi-Wan is like, if he's just like synergy across the board, I think that he's got more going on.
But if he doesn't, though, that's what makes me curious is, does Premier format hurt Obi? Because you're going to probably play a game that you're going to be like, I would love to play Obi here, but he can't.
I mean, not after Mace's release, or not
Fair.
like once we have like a critical mass of clone troopers to put in your stuff.
There is no way that the Premier format does not hold back the best character in the game in some way, shape, or form, which might be Obi, right? Like you can't say that a format that says if Obi-Wan is the best character in the game, you cannot play him with his perfect situation every single time.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually played Obi-Wan myself. He just looks really good. So I don't know if that is
better.
Nope.
Okay.
All right. With that being said, you guys ready to close this out? I think we can go.
I could talk on this stuff for another hour. So.
All right, so that'll wrap us up. Be sure to come and hang out in the Discord, and thank you for taking time to listen. As always, we'll be in your corner of the cantina.
Cheers, nerds.
Also, if you want to come check out the live show, we're here on Twitch, and when we record on Sunday nights at 8:30 Eastern, and we do a little after-hour scene where we just kind of hang out and talk, which is probably where we're going to continue this conversation.
That's about to happen.
Yeah, it's about to happen.
That's next.
So yeah, Sam, what's the most Star Wars thing you could do?
Don't listen to these two nerds. Decide for yourself whether or not rebels are the good guys or the bad guys.
Wait, that's like you got to let him say it, Dizzard. You don't get to steal the phrase from him. Sam, you get to do the full outro. Don't let Dizzard steal that shit.
What's the most Star Wars thing you could do? The most Star Wars thing that you could do is decide for yourself whether or not the rebels are the good guys or the bad guys.
Stretch out with your feelings.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Okay.
All right, Dizzard. When you close that, when you like want to like set someone up for the closing, you got to be like, Sam, close this out now. You know, Sam, wrap things up for us.
Fair.
Sam, bring us into After Dark. You know, don't do the thing that they're supposed to say.
Fine. You're right. Yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good episode. I definitely think that.
I mean, you left for like half of it to refill
I left
your
for like
drink.
5 minutes.
You missed the best part.
I left for like 5
minutes.
minutes.
Dude, the discussion between Sam and I during that 5 minutes was like, it was the best part of the episode, and you missed it.
It was like you
walked out.
I'll have to go back and listen.
I guess you're gonna have to listen.
Except for I feel like I didn't like miss anything except for maybe you guys talking shit for probably 2 minutes, and then you actually got to the topic. Because by the time I got back, it sounded like you had literally just started talking about it. Like
Thomas is very concise. If anything, I derailed him.
That's fair.
Tried to make him waste more time.
To be honest, I tried to get the boring shit out of the way while you were gone, and just do like the basic lowdown shit while you were refilling your beverage. Because you
honestly watching your face
that
after
first
every
sip
time you take a drink from that beverage might be my favorite part of the second half of the show.
It's a little.
I meant what was his face look special when he was drinking?
When I first sat down, it was this. It was.
You mixed it kind of hard.
Yeah, it's a little up there. It's a little spicy.
Yeah, I'm on beer 3. Like, I was amazed how quick I went through beer 1. Beer 1 was like a normal can.
It was a small boy.
And then I knocked out the second the second beer, which is tall boy, like very quick. It was actually funny. Like after the game day, like because normally like Steph and I meet up Saturday evening, and I was like, I have not eaten since like 10 o'clock. I know you're not off work until 6. I'm gonna go to our favorite Mexican restaurant and just sit and eat chips and salsa and drink beers until you get off work, and then we'll have dinner. And I was a little tipsy by the time she showed up because they were like the wonderful server was like, do you want like a regular one or do you want like a big one? And I was like, ooh, let's do a big one.
Let's do the big
one. I'm drinking this like massive mug of IPA. I got a little tipsy by the time dinner rolled around.
You have to turn your light
proud
off.
of you guys tonight.
What's that, Sam?
You have to.
I'm so proud of you guys tonight.
People started getting me
What are you
going on
proud of us
Maul,
for?
and I can't stop once I'm started.
Drinking too much.
I really am trying to downplay the Maul hatred and like test him out. And I feel like you guys are like, Omnis, this is your point where you bring in the Maul hate. This is that part of the show. And
No,
I'm
this
like,
is even better. This is even better in my opinion because now
We're all on page that Maul's the
you're-
best.
You're rocking.
Oh,
and
that's not
back
where you're going.
from like how bad Maul is.
Yeah,
So-
like if you listen to the progression of the show, it goes from like, wow, Maul is absolute trash, to you not even saying a bad thing about Maul during the entire episode.
yeah, like the
It's
troll
only-
was
it
over.
only-
Turns
it only
out
took-
it was just a
I
troll.
don't
only-
want this to be a thing for the
it
whole
only-
length of the show.
It only
I
took
just,
4
like-
episodes to break you.
This is our
I'm
first
gonna
real
try
episode,
Maul
let's be
again
honest,
with the
game's out.
Mandos,
Yeah.
and like, dude, there's a point like I might go all in on the Maul hate at that point, and if
No,
you
I
guys are
think-
ready for it,
Man, I don't know.
Honestly, once you put him on the table, you're gonna have different feelings about it.
Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. Okay, so
I
what?
was playing him. It's not like I wasn't
Yeah.
playing him.
Okay, but let's.
I wasn't playing him with
want,
Mandos.
I want to. That okay? Yeah, you were missing out. Like that is
Yeah.
where he succeeds,
That
and
is
that
what he
is
wants.
where that's
Yeah,
what he
anyway.
wants because he makes the Mandos force efficient. Like he makes you actually break even.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, I'm gonna put him on the table with Mandos
Yeah.
again. And it was just like Asajj and Ahsoka just looked so tempting to play with the all Mandos, but it is like it does drain your force. So I'm like, I'm willing to like test out Maul with them, and I will give further opinions. But it was just like my first instinct was like he will probably be the first one who gets left behind in the greater like as people drift towards the more cool primaries, and that might still be the case. Honestly, I was just rolling with the troll and Dizzard. Like, I don't hate Maul that much.
Everybody else does though. However, I will say I do.
bland.
No, he's not. What are you talking about? He's got so
Well,
many layers.
okay. No.
Let me say my
Let's
piece.
shoot.
Let me say my piece. Let me say my
What's
piece.
bland?
I'm up.
Leverage is
No.
his
Can I have a character that leverages their health for more power, please?
Okay, so
Yes,
let's.
He's got a whole other resource that no one else has.
Let me come in here
Yeah,
real quick,
but
right?
that-
No. Let me come in here real quick. All right, you have 2 arguably beaters in the core box, right? Let's just look at solely the core box. You have Anakin and you have Maul. Anakin is straight up a one-trick pony, and you can't deny that. Like he does one thing and one thing only, and that's kill
Did
things.
you just
good.
say Maul is a one-trick pony?
No, I said Anakin is a one-trick pony. What does he do? He goes up and he kills stuff, and he needs people to do it for him. Like he needs people to set
We're not
him
talking
up.
about Anakin. Just
No,
say your thing about Maul.
Okay, so Maul is number 1. He's force efficient. 2. So he messes with one of the only resource economies that are in the game, or the only resource. I guess health is a resource economy, but he messes with one of the resource economies of the game. 2, he can impact control or impact displacement on 2 different models if you really wanted to. 3, he is the only primary in the core box who has a range attack with a really good range attack because
Dude,
if he
Miller
throws,
Lite. Respect. That's the
if
After
he
Dark way, Sam.
if he throws the
I feel like I need
saber,
a Corona or something at this
if
point.
he
Like,
throws
commit
the
to After
saber,
Darkness.
then like you get a reposition on 2. So it's like you can move, throw the saber, get the reposition on 2, which he'll probably get because he's throwing 7 dice, and you targeted right. And then you're gonna get that reposition on 2, and you move on to a point. So like he has extremely good mobility, extremely good attacks. He can basically force economy up the yin yang, and he has his own self heal on top of it. And then he just punishes people for trying to attack him. Like if people kill him, he just
exposed.
punishes
The
them.
exposed.
And the expose is huge because I love using Maul now to like not have him go after the person he exposed because he's got good attacks in general. But like using the pull and the expose to pull somebody off a point, go into somebody else that he can potentially shove off of a different point or the same point, and then leave that person who is exposed for somebody who isn't as good at attacking. So you're spreading the love. So Maul's being used to set up people instead of being used to set himself up.
Somebody who isn't as good as
All right.
attacking like Anakin,
All
right?
right, that's totally fine. I don't actually care that much about Maul. I would rather talk about the more interesting aspects of Shatterpoint.
But how is Maul bland though? I don't get it because he's doing everything.
He is interacting
Maul,
with the game in more ways than most characters are.
Maul, you put him in a squad, like his greatest value is facilitating the ease of force use for the rest of the squad. Like that
which
is
is
his
which is
greater
impacting.
value.
But that's okay. So okay. I keep seeing Coffee's thing here. So if Anakin's greater value to your whole entire team is giving you VPs,
Are
that
you
is-
arguing with me or are you arguing with Coffee? Like
Yes.
these are two different conversations.
but but I just like the biggest thing though is like Anakin versus Maul is what I see a lot. And it's very much yes, Anakin gets VPs, but that is only impacting your game state at most 3, sometimes 4 times a game.
You just got to pick whether you're arguing with my comment about him being bland or
I'm arguing with your comment about him bland because that's outrageous. Like I will take into a fact that like Anakin and Maul comparable, but you saying Maul is bland is really just like what are you talking about? Like Maul is probably the most interesting character in the entire core box.
he's interesting to you because you're obsessed with him.
No, he has got really good stuff for his turn. He impacts
Anakin,
so much.
It interacts directly with scoring. So regardless of what Maul's doing, I agree. Like that's fine. Like Maul's doing enough. I don't think he's a bland character. Anakin's kind of a bland character.
Yes, that I would agree
But
with.
at the same time,
So, okay.
Anakin is interacting directly with scoring, which is one of those things where like you can't overlook that because even if he only gets you 3, but if those 3 are literally I won score like I did it twice in Struggle 1.
Yeah.
Right, and it won me struggle 1, and then sure he was out of position in struggle 2. I lost struggle 2, but then he literally came around.
Okay, but now you're hoping. Now you're hoping on 2 points of variance. No, you're hoping on 2 points of variance. You're hoping for dice, and you're hoping to draw his card at the exact moment that you need it.
I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm accepting that when Anakin dazes someone, I get better.
Okay.
Like,
Dizzard, do you want
closer to my win condition?
like I'm asking you a genuine question. Do you want the you versus everyone Maul thing to be like just like a shtick of the show?
No, I want people to
if
play
you
Maul
do-
and realize how good he is.
Right. No. So genuine, like you got to answer this fucking question
okay,
if
okay.
you want to keep rolling with this thing. Do you want it to be a shtick? Because I will be the Maul bad guy if you want.
No,
and I will like,
honestly
roll with the hate train, or like
honestly,
do you not
I
want it
would-
to be a shtick of the show.
I would rather it be honest. Like if you hate Maul, you hate
Okay.
Maul, and we can discuss it and we can debate about it because
I will-
it's a
so
talking
I'm gonna-
point. But if you don't, if you like Maul, then you like Maul. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
we should have a shtick and a gimmick that everybody hates
Okay.
on Maul except for me because that's not true and genuine to what we
Okay.
are as.
I'm
gamers.
gonna try Maul with my Mandos,
Yeah.
and see if I like him more. And I will give you a genuine thought as to how I feel about him.
Okay.
But like, I just don't want to like drag on like the Maul like
No,
hatred
I don't-
thing
like-
for no reason.
I mean, to be
Like,
completely honest, I don't want to drag on the overbearing Maul love because I don't want this to turn into Cable 2.0. I really don't. Like
it is Cable 2.0 right now.
At this
Like,
point,
it
yes, and
is.
I would honestly prefer to cut back. It's just when I've been drinking and people's like Maul, I'm like, like
You know, it
not
is okay to
Cable 2.0.
ignore Coffee and Kenny on occasion.
It's Cable 2.0 if and when like Maul is consistently behind the curve for any sort of stats that are being tracked, and you continue to say that he is the best or this or that.
I don't want to do no disrespect to Danger Room, but I don't want to Danger Room you, right? Like
Yeah,
I don't want you to feel bad because you like playing Maul. Like I do see his value to a squad. And I can see how you're like, oh, I like his value.
Danger Room because Mike says that Maul's good now.
yeah, Maul. But Mike was in the. I don't know if you saw, but Mike in the chat said, "Yeah, Maul's the best in the core box." He said, "I'm not." And he even said, "Like, I'm not even trolling. Like, Maul might actually be the best in the core box." It's like,
Cool. Like I'm glad that they're like maybe like my discussion with playtesters and
He's
such
still
like
here.
skewed my view too much, where I had some initial instincts that Maul was undervalued, and the people who I was talking to who had actually played games because they were playtesting and such also were like, hey, I'm also feeling Maul is a little meh. and like maybe that like skewed me a little bit. And I'm perfectly happy to be wrong, and I'm gonna like play him with the Mandos and see if I like the overall squad composition better.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like ride the Maul train, but it was just funny. Like I'm just willing to come out and be like somebody's not as good as the rest, right? Like I'm just willing to say that.
Yeah.
And my first instinct was that that's Maul. That could be wrong.
I think that's completely fair. I just, again, like back to like the question though, is like I would 100% rather the cast be like genuine and like what do you really think, and not just like riding the train of this is fun. Because
like I think listeners will get a little bored of like a Maul argument all the time.
Every cast.
It's not that interesting. Like I mean, it seems like to a certain extent, like you and I are going to play Mandos a lot. Right. Yeah. And then like Sam is going to play Republic a fuck ton.
He's only going to play Republic. What are you talking about?
I have zero interest.
Is a fuck ton? Is a fuck ton not like a lot?
Care.
Like
I don't care if it's the best damn thing in the game. I have no interest in playing like bad guys, separatists, like Siths and not Jedi. Robots.
I like Siths. Sorry. I just don't really like battle droids and shit.
I don't like. No, I honestly, when I was like, battle droids are really good. I just can't bring myself to play them every single game because it's a fucking droid. It's boring. Like, give me Mandos who have like they're a person. Like, it's very much that. Was the thing.
Like, so Dizzard, like, I played 2 games yesterday and I won both of them.
But you didn't care about them.
Fairly dominating. Like, the third game did the first game went to Struggle 3. But it was like, okay, you had a perfect placement for Struggle 2, and you kept rolling 2 points for your, like, back secure that I had, like, no way of getting to. Yeah, and then I just fucking rolled Struggle 3.
Shatterpoint. That's
right, and it was fine, but I still felt like I owned that game. But the weird thing is I kind of felt like he rolled better and was doing cooler things with like the Mandos and stuff. Like game 1, where I played against all Mandos, and I just felt like he was doing cooler stuff all the game. I just was like, my guys are in a better position than yours, so I win. And I don't feel like I did anything cool in game 1 with the Separatists, but I won. And that was a weird feeling. And I was like, I kept thinking about it. I'm like, how did I win this so hard game 1? And it was just like, to a certain extent, like, I'm not sure I played particularly well. I got Kalani fucked up. And I was just like, I'm pretty good at movement stuff. And Separatists have a lot of movement stuff. And so it's a weird dynamic where like Mandos really feel like they're always doing cool shit.
Yeah.
Right? But like Separatist is just like some like when you just have your people in the right spot, it's good. Sam, you were like getting next level spooky shit. Like I feel like you should tell us a ghost story. Like tell us when you met Qui-Gon's Force Spirit.
It's so dark in there that you're blurry now.
Like, dude, you disappear. Except you're like.
It's because I brought a dark window up.
I love it. It looks so good. It looks so perfect.
The MCP round for the next.
Oh my god,
MCP
so good.
TTS round.
So can I ask you guys, like, is Hyper not just like not playing Shatterpoint? Like he's just all in on.
I think he said no. I think he said I have no care about Shatterpoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just feel real bad if all of a sudden Hyper was like super in on Shatterpoint, and you're like, "Sorry guys, sorry Hyper, we already like have a third dude." And I prefer it if he's like not in on Shatterpoint at all.
Yeah, no, he straight up said he's like, I have no interest in playing Star Wars. Okay. Yeah, he's like, I'm here for Hulk. But I also think that they're like this. I'm not trying to like go back on the Maul train here, but I think Maul also has the biggest.
And we're back on the Maul train.
No, but I do think
I'm not joining the Maul train, but here's my ticket.
But I want to say though is Maul also has like the biggest growth to be had because of the keywords that he has available to him, being Dathomirian and
he does
Scoundrel,
have big growth
and
big growth there. All right,
yeah, which I think is super interesting.
Change the topic. What's your favorite? Like, come on, like the listeners have heard enough about Maul.
This isn't about Maul.
What's your favorite second squad for Maul?
Okay, but this isn't actually about Maul. That's just like the first point of this. Is I think it's super interesting that the keywords on the bottom of a lot of people's cards is actually very limited, except for like Maul. Like he's got like 4 or 5. I don't remember how much it is.
Dude, Asajj. I am so excited about Asajj and Mother Talzin.
Yeah, I want to see what Mother
Dathomir.
does.
Oh my god, I am so excited. Oh,
I want to see what Savage does. Savage would be cool.
So you can play both Mauls. So you can play Maul and Better
his
Maul.
Brother. Yeah. I mean, arguably yes, but that's besides the point.
Dude, it was funny. I was just watching the Clone Wars cartoon that has Savage in it, and I was like, dude, he fucks shit up.
Oh yeah, no, Savage is a savage. Like it is his name.
Like, he was scary. Like even like Dooku and Obi and Anakin were all like, this guy's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, it's just because he's strong. Like he's super strong too. On top of it, because he's like enhanced with Night Sister magic and all that,
and was already like pretty badass to begin with, and then like got some training from Dooku.
Yeah,
and like built up a little bit of hate. Let's not he's not real happy with the Dathomir. He's not real happy with Dooku either.
And then
dude hates the motherfuckers.
Then Sidious just cuts him up and kills him, and he's done. I hate how Savage died. I really dislike it. I wish he.
I haven't gotten to the part where Savage actually dies.
But you saw it when you were younger,
Jeez,
so
guys, spoilers.
Yeah, I saw it at some point, but I didn't remember the Sidious.
This is like a 10-year-old spoiler. Like,
I'm rewatching the show right now. Like, how far down the road does Sidious kill him?
I think it's like season 6.
Oh, it takes that long to kill Savage? That's weird.
Well, it happens right before the Mando War.
He dips out for like multiple seasons.
Yeah,
right, and that's where I'm at. I'm just like getting in. Like, I think I'm nearing the end of season 3.
Have you gotten to like
season 4?
Have you gotten to the extensive droid mission? Like that almost broke me on Clone Wars. Like I was
what extensive droid mission?
God.
Which one?
No, there's only one that I can remember.
I just got through the
episodes long.
I just got through the story where they're on the dark planet and like the Grell, the Jedi who like is kind of racist against clones and trying to get them killed so that he can join Dooku.
Ah, yeah.
I'm like just finishing that. I just finished that story. Where like Rex has to like lead a bunch of clones to like arrest Grell, which is a great story by the way.
That is a great story. I think the droids is coming. I think the droids is like if it's not the end of the season you're in, then it's like towards the end of the next season. I think it's season 4. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
But like you literally go from like tracking this like Band of Brothers clone stuff that like they build up for multiple seasons to this like hard gear shift down into like what if we followed R2D2 and a bunch of misfit droids for like
no I have like just watched
episodes.
I have just watched that. I'm just like so over it. Yeah,
if I hadn't been painting, like that would have been the end of my Clone Wars watch.
Yeah, no. You're totally right. I've actually gotten to that. Okay. That might still have another episode or 2 left. I don't remember. But yeah, no, like the like droid, like I am an active C3PO hater. Like for the listeners, I think C3PO is one of the worst characters in Star Wars. So
I cannot wait for him to be like the best C3PO character in the game.
They're both really bad. They are my bottom 2, I think.
He's gonna be so good in every game C3PO has been in that was Star Wars IP. He has been an insane support character.
The Separatists, like Star Wars minis by Wizards of the Coast. Only had one character where C3PO was useful, and that was when he was on the same base as R2. And he was good, but not OP.
All right, well.
So
what was your
Fantasy
question,
Flight, maybe a C3PO.
What was your question, though? Yeah. You said what my secondary squad is?
Yeah, I was like, what? So you like Maul and Mando. It's like, what is your favorite secondary? Like, do you like Asajj more? Do you like Ahsoka more? Like, who do you like the most?
I have gone back and forth on that, but I think as this game has more people have played it, and more people have continued to prove my point of trying to put too much MCP into Shatterpoint, I think you need Ahsoka because people are going to die, and she just is going to give you value throughout the game. where Asajj is leaning into that aggressive.
People don't have to die.
They don't have to.
Attack.
Which is really funny is I really kind of want to play a game of Shatterpoint to where I don't wound anybody but still clutch it. I think it's possible, and I think it might actually be the way to play the game more so than just like killing people. I don't think you need to wound people to get the wins.
I disagree completely.
So when you guys get asked, when someone asks you, what's Shatterpoint like? What's your go-to explanation?
Dizzard, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to?
Nobody's asked me.
I literally just asked. Oh,
Sam asked you. Sam is not nobody. Sam is a legitimate person. He's Sammy Two Pews.
Okay, so if you were like off the street and do you have gaming experience? Have you played MCP? Because it very much differs on if you have gaming experience, if you've played MCP, or if you haven't, you have other games.
You don't know who's asking you the question.
You are in a game store. You're being asked by a stranger. The only details you have about this person is that they are in your game store. They are playing a minis game that you don't recognize, and you've been asked, "Hey, so what's Shatterpoint like?" It's like they know enough about it to know what the game you're playing is called.
Yeah.
They know enough about it to be like okay, like tell me about this brand new game.
Sorry, I'm trying to edit at the same time.
Edit
Like,
what?
edit.
The episode. Well, I not really edit it. I have to balance. Okay, so like I have to make sure the volume and everything's balanced out for the volume, and it's not too loud and it's not too quiet. And then that's about all I do.
Nice. Coffee says,
how was it?
So
had a Star Wars
it was,
baby.
it's honestly fine. If I was to say, I would say Shatterpoint is a skirmish miniatures game for 2 players. In Shatterpoint, players take control of iconic characters from the Star Wars galaxy and their allies, battling against each other to be the first to complete randomized missions across a terrain-filled battlefield.
Just Sam, the answer to your question is Shatterpoint is a Star Wars board game that happens to have really fucking cool miniatures.
Okay.
Like, that's what we're
Dizzard
playing.
just told him to read the back of the box. At least
Yeah.
Like
That's what I was reading. No, honestly, give me a second to like actually type this up real quick, and then
I was like, are we Alfredo's taco truck all of a sudden? And the back of the box. All right.
the box.
No, I'm trying to type up the.
Why are you asking me questions? I'm fucking Dizzard, Grand Vizier of Rogue Support. Are you even allowed to talk to me?
I have described it as a board game that mixes basketball and the Star Wars IP. Because I feel that there is a tempo to Shatterpoint that I have only seen in sports in basketball. And most people can use sports as a reference point.
Yeah, you say basketball.
Whether you like sports or not. And I don't even like basketball that much. But whether you like sports or not, you have a reference point there. You're like, oh, okay. And if they give me this look, I say, well, I mean, think about it, right? Like, the game is very scoring forward in what it's trying to do on the table. And my take on it is, it's like, okay, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. Somebody misses a 3. We have broken parity, and now the game goes off on its own. Like, now we're in a different place now. It's no longer just you have to score your 2 points. You're no longer just carrying forward the status quo. Now you actually have to like do something else on the table. Now that you've missed your 3-point shot, I don't know why you went for it. You had the 2 pretty much guaranteed. You could have just gone for the layup there, kid. But you were like, no, I got to shoot the 3. I got to break this parity somehow because I got bored with it.
Or someone makes the 3.
Yeah.
And now you make the 3 and the other person can't just continue the 2 anymore. Mm-hmm.
But it feels more like basketball to me than it feels like a lot of other things. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's literally just that's the momentum of scoring.
It sounds like a bad thing to me when you say it's like basketball.
You know, the only reason you don't like basketball is because we lost the Sonics.
I haven't ever cared about basketball. I basketball was watching the Last Dance documentary on Netflix about the Bulls is the most interested I've ever been in basketball.
In all reality, like a lot of people I talk to from Washington are very much the same as I am, where it's like, yeah, as soon as we lost the Sonics, I just stopped caring about basketball, and that was like 20 years ago.
I didn't care about basketball when we had the Sonics,
but that was also like 20 years ago.
I haven't ever cared about basketball. I'm old.
I do think
does not matter to me.
I think Coffee's explanation of Guild Ball and Crisis Protocol, how to Star Wars baby, is a good one if the people play MCP and Guild Ball. However, I think the best way, another way to put it is if they played Arena Rex, they could say the combat style of Arena Rex. A Star Wars IP skirmish game that is very, very focused on controlling points is like the low down and dirty, I think, best way to say it. But it also has a very dynamic.
My description was perfect. I feel like you guys are just dragging this on.
We all do. We all think our description.
You wanted me to say a legit thing. Here you go. I also think though that you need to emphasize on the fact of how dynamic this game is, because you can have a skirmish game that's not very dynamic at all. But I think Shatterpoint might be the most dynamic when it comes to miniatures game at the moment, because there is always a moving part as far as whatever, like something is always going on. And I think
I've got again, tug of war is a good descriptor as well.
Yeah, tug of war is a great descriptor.
Coffee's a man of few words, but he's always right, except for when it comes to Anakin.
Well, I mean, tug of war is how it's described by the staff right away. It's not like a new thing. I'm curious for you guys, because we all have played multiple games.
Yeah.
And one of the weird things is like when I tried MCP, I was immediately blown away. But that was a stark comparison. War Machine to MCP was so different and so refreshing. And now the differences between MCP and Shatterpoint are way more subtle and small. And finally playing games in person, I'm like, I'm enjoying this. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not blown away in the way that I was when I tried MCP. How have you guys kind of wrapped your head? Because I was like, I knew I wanted to get into MCP because it was just straight better than War Machine. Playing Shatterpoint, I'm like, oh, this is like a really good game with different things, but it's a very different dynamic than just knowing it's better than the game that you were already playing, where I'm not sure that it is. It's different, but I don't know if it's better than MCP. So
for me, I went from War Machine to Guild Ball to Infinity to MCP. War Machine to Guild Ball to Shatterpoint. But I'm still playing MCP, so it's like, but like from War Machine to Guild Ball was like that moment of like, wow, this is like a much better written game. It plays better. Like, I enjoyed this style of a game way more than I ever did War Machine. Like, it was that refreshing, like, wow. But then I look back, like, when I played War Machine, like, when I was younger, I was like, wow, that's such an amazing game. Coming from, like, Flames of War to go to War Machine. Completely different game, different stuff going on. Like, super blown away. And I guess it's what you get when you change game systems. But anyways, so Guild Ball, I was like, wow, I love this game. I was very much on the Guild Ball hype. And then it died. And I was like, well, I don't know what the fuck to play now. And all my buddies were playing Infinity, so I jumped on Infinity. And I was like, wow, this is a really cool game, too. I really like Infinity. It's just, you have to, like, be playing consistently to keep up on the rules. The rules are so complex. There's so much going on in the rules. It's just rules. It's a really good rule set, but if you don't know them, like, it's just a slug. Like, it's just like, ugh. And then I was watching Epic Duck, Mike, painting MCP one time, and I was like, what's this? And he's like, oh, it's a game that just came out like today. And I'm like, oh, like, that's Marvel. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, like, have you ever played a War Machine where it's like whoever gets the Alpha Strike basically wins? And I'm like, sure. And he's just like, there is no Alpha Strike in MCP. And I was like, oh.
There wasn't
at that time.
And now there kind of is.
Now there definitely is. And so I went and picked it up and I got into it and I was like, wow, this is by far the best game I've ever played for a miniatures game, because I was like, I feel like I always have agency. And I think Shatterpoint, to an extent, has almost expanded on that fact that you pretty much always have agency. Where in MCP, there are times where you really don't have agency. And I think Shatterpoint does that very well. But I think MCP excels in brevity, I guess, and being very, you know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to. It's easier to say, like when I first saw...
You get one bounce back, right? You have a rubber band.
So it was like when Shatterpoint was first announced, they started talking about it and showing stuff. I was like, Shatterpoint can easily be the most competitive miniatures game and blow MCP out of the water. Now that I played it a few times, my opinion of that has completely changed, and I think MCP is definitely more competitive because you know what you're gonna have. You can plan for it better. You can actually basically round one over and over and over and over and over again, and make your best round ones. You can't do that with Shatterpoint. You can't have.
There's a lot of turn zero in MCP compared. To, Shatterpoint has no turn zero basically.
Correct.
And you can lose a game in turn zero in MCP for better or worse. Yeah. I like squad building, and deployment is super interesting. Right now, it feels like that's totally absent.
Non-existent. Yeah, and in my opinion, it is because the order deck gets rid of that. You can't plan on a turn zero when you don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know what mission you're gonna get.
It's just
you don't
the way
know who
that
you're gonna
deployment
get.
works.
Yeah,
and it's just it's a very, very different animal.
So
and not knowing where the secures are, where the objectives are going to be, during deployment.
So
that was always mind blowing for people.
But I also
they understand that part of it.
But you get into the action right away, which is sweet.
But
there's no lull turn one. Round one is boom. Struggle one, you're fucking into the action.
I also think, though, that Shatterpoint could very easily be an extremely competitive game because I think for the same arguments that it's not a competitive game, also make it a competitive game. Because if you're able to take these lack of pre-knowledge and lack of all the stuff that you get with MCP and turn it into winning consistently and turning it around and actually making it that, then you're obviously a skilled player because you're turning all of these things that should be variants and you're making consistency with it. So I think that Shatterpoint has a potential to be an extremely competitive game, and it can very easily be more competitive than MCP because of the options available to you. It's just competitive in a different way, and you have to wrap your head around that. Yeah, it's more. In my opinion, Shatterpoint's more tactical, and MCP is more. Let me plan out my. There you go.
Strategic.
Well, we'll have to see in the long run, what leads someone to feeling like they're advantaged over someone else, or what leads someone to winning. And I don't feel like I've played enough to answer the question yet. What really truly leads one player to victory over another Shatterpoint player, and I don't fully know what all the answers to that are yet.
So I've gone back and forth on
5 variables personally. Go ahead, you go ahead. Yours, and then I'll cover
so my biggest thing is I've gone very, very back and forth on things where at the beginning I was like, wow, this game's really balanced, to holy shit, the order deck just fucks you, to wow, my dice and all this, and then to back to wow, if I just make the right decisions with the characters, then I still have agency regardless of what I draw. I could draw the most person who's out of position, but the thing is now I can't reserve this character. Well, why did I reserve that character in the first place? So your decisions have much more of an impact when it comes to the order deck than it does when you're activating a character, which comes back to something that DeLuca has said, that because of the order deck, it probably slows games down more because that decision is more important of if you're going to reserve a character or look at MCP, who am I going to activate? That reserve mechanic is way more important than just who am I going to activate?
Yeah. It is.
I don't think it slows down a game. I don't think the reserve mechanic slows.
I think
compared to MCP,
not in a bad way. Not in a bad way.
Who you're going to activate? I feel like it's definitely faster with Shatterpoint. You have to accept on a grand, most turns, you cannot be reserving. You cannot be reserving on most activations.
And if you are, you have a damn good reason for it.
Right, and it's when you are, it's a significant turn, and maybe I'll be wrong in the long run, but I don't feel like on most turns, I feel like most turns, you got to roll with it. And then there are very specific moments where you need to reserve.
Unless you're playing Obi and Lumi, then you're just fuck it, I got knowledge.
All right, well, how long are we chatting for? I've got another recording to do this evening.
Oh, Sam has
All
five
right, so
things
I
to
would say
say.
that my 5 points of like what like the variables in Shatterpoint like to manage. So first of all, I mostly agree with Omnis in that I don't feel like I have enough reps with this
Yep.
game in general to be like absolutely I have a handle on how you win this game or how you lose
Yeah.
this game. I would say that in some of the games more often in the games that I win, I can point to something that my opponent did not do far more often than I can point to something that I actually did to win that game. And so
I
number
agree with that.
one is basically Shatterpoint usage. So like the way that you deploy your Shatterpoint, I think separates good players from bad and might be the biggest metric
I agree
in
with
like
that. I do agree
what
with that. I think the
separates
Shatterpoint
like
card,
how
how
do
you
you win,
use
how
the
do you lose?
Shatterpoint,
Yep.
is might be the most important decision in the whole game.
That's your one chance. And I have a current theory that I'm testing. Like I'm not saying that this is like the God's honest truth or anything like that, but like I do think that like my current mode of testing is I think you actually want to reserve your shatter point a little more often than players do. Unless you pull that card and you go, absolutely, I knew exactly who I needed to activate. Or holy smokes, I have this opportunity. Who has to activate right now? And like gets me where I need to go. I think that your shatter point might actually need to get shuffled back in the deck more often than people think. But that's an aside. To like number one is I think Shatterpoint usage. Number two is what did you bring to the table and how well did you build your stuff, right? Because if you literally brought like a hodgepodge of like whatever with no synergies because you were just like I want to do this, like yeah, you are starting from behind in that game because the other guy is going to just slowly get more action economy, more usage, more abilities, more triggers, more this, more that over the course of the game, and that is going to build up against you. The third factor, I think, is player agency. The actual decisions that you make over the course of the game, where you're like, I drew this card, now what do I do with it? That I think is big. The next one after that is literally just it's variance, right? Just variance in the game. And now this is maybe both dice and the Shatterpoint order deck, right? Where you're
Yeah.
like what did you draw? Well, if you just draw like three things that are out of position and that's enough for your opponent to close out a struggle, like that is feels bad. It's hard. It sucks, and it might even make you playing from behind in the next thing you go into, right? Because if it's like I have 4 activations left in my deck, where you close out the first struggle with the first two of those, and those were the two that I needed to draw in the second struggle. It's not even that you didn't draw the two things that could have helped you win struggle 1 or struggle 2 or whatever struggle you're in. It's that now you also don't get the two things that you just drew in the next struggle when you think you needed them. And so there's definitely variance in the order deck. And then the fifth point, which is maybe just 4.5, is the variance of dice themselves. Because I have come to not rely on any damage coming through other than criticals. Right? It's like how many criticals do I have in this roll? And like if my expertise chart has adds criticals or adds damage, like those are the only things I'm counting on. And I do not count on defense dice, even though they're like hella consistent compared to the attack dice. At least they should be. But like I look at those and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter because the only things that are going to get through for sure are their criticals. So the dice variance is kind of the last one, and I don't know the weight on those roughly 5 points yet. So currently I'm considering them in my mental headspace as about 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. Right? It's just like it's pretty much an even split. But that's where I'm at with the game. And player agency is where I see most things collapse. And like I haven't defined what's good play for me, but I have definitely like been in situations where my opponent talks through their thought process and then does a thing or draws a card that makes it so that the one thing that I was worried about didn't actually happen.
I will say I feel like maybe the thing that is determining the most games that I've seen is Shatterpoint usage, where like one person does something really important with Shatterpoint and the other person just kind of like activates a character, right? And like that may be the thing. But all right, Dizzard, I think I need to peace out.
Good night.
Oh, is Dizzard frozen?
No.
Oh, no. You looked really frozen.
That was awesome. I thought he was for a second.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, it happened again.
All right. You have a good one. Enjoy your cast.
All
See
right.
you later.
I need to eat something before I cast. Is the
Oh, yeah,
reason.
you should eat.
I've been drinking for 2.5 hours.
It's good. It's
Time
good
to
for
grab
you.
some grub. All right.
All right.
Peace, nerds. Thank you. Thanks to all the Twitch people for watching and listening to us. I'm gonna roll out.
Bye.
Hasta luego.
Hi.
That's fun.
I think I like how you put it, which also made me think like when you look at that, there's only 2 of those 5 things are completely out of your control.
Yeah.
Which begs to differ that like when you're looking at your order deck and you're looking at your dice, it's very much the same argument for MCP that and dice be dice, order deck be order deck. But what could you have done differently to change this outcome? And I look back to my game with Coffee this last week, and we even talked about it afterwards. I was like, if I just didn't reserve Kalani, I probably would have been fine. But the fact that I reserved Kalani made it so that way I couldn't reserve somebody else later. When I got 2 pulls in an order in a row in a spot where I didn't need them at all, and if I could have reserved something, I could have gotten something that I actually needed, but I couldn't reserve because Kalani was in reserve. And it had this whole trickle effect of because I misreserved, it made it almost impossible for me to win that struggle. And I think that's more important than we let on, because like that's why I said the reserve mechanic is probably one of the strongest things in the game right now. Just because of the fact that if either you do it correctly or you do it poorly, can be what decides your game.
Yeah, I mean, so like some of the player agency stuff I think is a lot bigger than other stuff. So like putting yourself in position towards the end of a struggle to be able to compete in the potential next struggles, I think are huge, right? Like as soon as you can realize like, okay, I'm going to do this on my opponent's turn, they're going to be able to do that. On my next turn, assuming something doesn't drastically change at that point, right? And that's planning ahead, right? So like at that point, you can identify this struggle is over. Now it's time to start positioning for the next struggle. And
well, it's very much your basketball analogy where it's like you either have to keep parity or get ahead. And Coffee's kind of talking about that right now, where it's like if you fall behind, you're just going to fall behind again, and then you're going to fall behind again. And that's typically how you end up winning the struggle, is because you went for the 3-pointer, you got the 3-pointer, and then your opponent wasn't able to answer. Which I think that might be a topic in itself, is looking for that 3-pointer. Where can you diving for that one opportunity to where you can score one more than your opponent can on the next round, because that's what sets you up to win the struggle.
Yeah. The game that I remember best from the last week was kind of like that, where struggle 1 went on for a long time. It was very evenly matched. And then as we kind of drew towards the end of struggle 1, setting up for struggle 2 was something I was trying to do. And honestly, I failed miserably at it. My opponent won struggle 2 handedly. It just that was just it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything about it. And then, but that also meant that set me up for struggle 3, because when we flip that struggle 3 card, all of a sudden I'm literally just in position because of my failed attempt to reposition for struggle 2. I wound up where I controlled all 3. I could pick a struggle where I controlled all 3 points to start, and all I had to do was basically reinforce those over the course of the next 3 activations.
My question for you is, what are your thoughts now that you played quite a bit? What are your thoughts on the priority token for shifting priorities?
I really wish that it would have just added to it. That every time you rolled the priority token, it added a priority token if there wasn't one, so that they slowly just become worth more points over the course of the game. But that's not the world that we live in. So I feel like if you won the first struggle, the second struggle can feel very, very dicey. I guess if you lose the first struggle, the second struggle could feel really dicey as well. But like you've got to find a way to get to the third struggle. I think if you want to like win the game, and I mean that whether you're going to 2-0 the first two struggles or if you're going to 2-1 it, because I think that even if you think you have a good chance at struggle 2, you still have to play it as hard as you can. And the random dice being the random dice are a major factor. And the only thing I would say is that the struggle 2 like layouts versus the struggle 3 layouts is that the struggle 3 layouts feel like it draws everything back in, while the struggle 2 layouts
spreads everything.
Feel like they're really trying to spread everything out. And I think that the best thing that a lot of players can do, that like if you want to get better at that part of the game, I think you just need to understand where the transition points are from struggle 1 to struggle 2, struggle 2 to struggle 3, and just make sure that you can get your models where they could need to be. Yeah.
Or be playing a squad that is extremely mobile, that it doesn't matter, and they're going to be able to get there. Which I think Mandos kind of get a leg up on, because it's like, I got to jump in advance. I can probably get there.
I mean, the Mandos are crazy because like the Mandos have like, it's an interesting synergy for the Mandos to interact with each other. So if you oops all Mandos for your secondaries and supports, then you have a synergy built in, which is why I say that I think that Maul or Asajj and Ahsoka is basically the best home for Mandos straight out of the box.
And I agree. I think you need Ahsoka though. I think Ahsoka's like honestly like over Maul. I think Ahsoka's like you said, Asajj, and then Asajj or Maul and Ahsoka.
Right.
I think that's 100% true, because Mando's gonna die, and Ahsoka's like, I can't tell you how many times like Ahsoka can just like rob your opponent of scoring out. Like they're like, man, I'm gonna get 4 VPs this round, ha ha ha, and then you're just like, Ahsoka says no because she's gonna move here, and now I still control it.
Yeah, and if you get like the extra attack, then like it's even worse. Like to go to Coffee and I guess Sooner's point, like in the chat, is that like when I'm in that situation, my approach has been to just give up on the current struggle. Like if I'm in a situation where it's just like no matter what I do, I just keep losing, then I'm just going to give up on that and move on and try for 3. And I wouldn't say that I have a great record going into struggle 3. Like from there, it doesn't make me feel like I'm just like, yep, absolutely nailed this. this is absolutely 100% how you approach this situation. No, it doesn't feel like that. But that's like what I'm doing right now, is if I'm in a situation where it does look like my opponent's going to score out very quickly with just a little bit of variance, favorable variance for them, then I don't want to try to compete for that, because I think that my personal experience with the second struggle has been, if you are in a position where you've got like 1 or 2 of the points under your control, but the die just keeps favoring a single point that's not within your sphere of influence, for lack of a better term. Like if it's just outside of the range that you can get to, then like it's just outside of the range you can get to, and you just gotta like be like, well, all right, so this is 2-1. Like what does the third struggle look like? Where do I want to be for it? And it's not a happy place to be, but I don't think it's unwinnable either.
I do definitely feel though that like if you win struggle 1, I don't know why, it just feels like struggle 2 is so much harder. I really don't know.
I think you're in the driver's seat if you win struggle 1.
I do too, but more often than not, I would say the winner of struggle 1 loses struggle 2. More often than not.
I would agree with that as well.
But I don't know. Like I don't know why though.
I think that honestly, it's just the positioning of everything, right?
Is
so
it,
struggle 1 is what it's Sneck left and Sneck right, right?
And
like
crosshair,
right? Or the diamond.
Yeah.
Is it,
it's a crosshair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it literally the fact that the loser gets to pick the shape, and they're probably easily able to pick one that mostly benefits them. Versus Struggle 3, I have found that more often than not, Struggle 3 doesn't really benefit one person more so than the other, and it's kind of just bad for both in most aspects.
I think that Struggle 3 has a lot more to do with how many wounded models you have on the board, like currently, right? Like models that like you can't, like they're just out of commission. It's not that you can't like reposition them, right? Because obviously, as we've talked about in the previous episodes, like you can still reposition your wounded models, but for whatever reason, because they don't count for the current scoring until you flip that card and get them back on the table. I think that basically the wounded count going into the third struggle can be really important.
Which almost begs to differ. Like, you shouldn't be like gunning for people until close to the end of Struggle 2, and then you're like, let me wound as many people as I possibly can right now.
I think if you won Struggle 1, I think you want to wound as many people as you can.
Which
Struggle
Ben
2, it's
Ben has
scoring.
said that he's like gone to that mindset where he's very much just like, I won Struggle 1, now I'm just gonna play attrition for Struggle 2 because I'm probably gonna lose it anyways, so I might as well just get something for me, and that's gonna be kill. Where the other person's like, man, I really need to focus on getting the victory.
It, right? They need it. And so one of the things that also came up in my discussion with my local guys was like the timing of dazes is something that everyone has talked about. And like Shatterpoint day 1, people came home from demos and they were like, wow, I think that the timing of dazing is going to be a big deal, right? And I definitely agree with that. And one of the things that I've been pushing on people is for secondaries and supports, you want to daze models whose card hasn't been drawn yet.
Yeah, I would agree. Because if you do that, that hurts.
It hurts, right? Because now they're out. Like they're out until they get drawn. And then once they get drawn, they're right back into danger zone.
Yeah.
Now they are in the danger zone. And if you can do that in a way that like before the third time their card gets drawn, they're off the table. That is big news, in my opinion. Like that's something where it's like now we're going into the third struggle with like, this is for real, right? Because now the next time they operate, they're done.
Yeah,
like that's it. So I think that's an interesting Shatterpoint.
It's fun to talk about. It's fun to talk about because like we're definitely in like the discovery stage, which it's like that's where I really enjoy playing the game more than MCP at the moment, is because we're in that discovery stage. MCP is very much, I'm gonna go play my game, make sure I'm not forgetting stuff. And then Shatterpoint's like, I wonder what's gonna happen this time. Like
I have no idea.
And it's very much with MCP. It's like, oh, I got to play against this person this week.
Yeah, it does feel like, especially for like the your local events and like the online stuff, it's more like you're chasing scalps or trying to play specific people to get in the game you want, the type of game you want.
Yeah.
And I mean, Shatterpoint's just new and shiny, so nothing matters.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm just trying to try everything, which is why I want to try like the premiere with like the next one, is like I want to see how it alters people's lists and how it alters like what we talked about tonight.
I feel like we've kind of been playing premiere the way that everything's been on.
I was going through people's lists. I was going through people's lists and I was like, majority of people basically played premiere for like this event. Nobody, like there was like one person I think that had like 3 different strike teams.
I played the same squad 3 times in this last event, and I haven't played my 4th round yet.
So, you haven't played your 4th round yet.
I haven't. It's against Deaton. Neither one of us reached out to each other.
Oh my goodness!
I think we're both in the same headspace. That's like, it doesn't matter. This event is over.
Basically. Well, let's see. We'll wait for. I'm hoping we get some Inquisitor spoils tomorrow.
Fair.
Or Vader. Let me see Vader. That'd be.
Hey.
Sweet. You know, what'd be cool though is if Vader works really well with Obi as a secondary. Like, how sick would that be? Like, I could see it being like, wow, this is.
It's gonna be a theme fail and a game win if that's the
Yeah.
case.
Because then it's like, this is a value pack. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but I get it. I don't know. I ain't gonna lie. Like, that duelist pack is like the coolest diorama that they've done for any of these duel packs or rivals panels, whatever you want to call them. Like, I looked at it and I was like, I would actually set this up as a diorama. Like, this actually looks cool.
Yeah, and people say that you can't use it as terrain, but I
No,
think
you
you
can't.
can. I think if you
You
can. If
can.
you smooth it over.
Yeah.
You just smooth it over with like some extra like basing stuff.
I mean, you don't even have to do that. You just plop it down on a table. Like, you could use the one little building that's on there as terrain. Like, I don't see why you can't. It's just not classified as official A&G terrain. That's the only thing. Like, and I think that's stupid. But it's also like, Shatterpoint doesn't have sizes. It doesn't have like anything. Right. So I don't see why you can't just use this as a terrain piece. Anyways,
levels, terrain. Think of terrain levels. All right, we're done, right?
Yeah, we're done. All right, let's turn this off. What are you doing?
Right. Good night, folks. I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna go to bed, I guess.
That's fair.